Okay, good evening. Welcome to the August 6, 2026 City Commission meeting. I want to call this meeting to order. And we're going to start with invocation and pledge of allegiance from our City Attorney, Jen. Please stand.
Let us begin this meeting by taking a brief moment of silence and reflection. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have an absence tonight, Commissioner Sandberg, and I think he's at a wedding, family wedding or something. Anyway, he's out of town, and we need to get an excused absence for him, so could I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye, and motion passes unanimously. Okay, presentations, artist recognition, Leland Chase Outdoor Gallery, Public Art Project, Phase 2 and 3. So I have Nicole and Elizabeth Brinklow, whoever wants to take the charge.
Perfect. Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Nicole Delfino, Strategy and Sustainability Manager, here with you this evening with Elizabeth Brinklow, the city's art consultant, to recognize a project that has been ongoing for a few years now and completed with Phase 3, to recognize the artists that contributed to both Phase 2 and Phase 3. So I'm going to pass it to Elizabeth, and she'll go through our artists and have a recognition here.
So good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and staff. Welcome and thank you. Thanks for having me. Leland Chase Outdoor Gallery is a project of the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee and appointed a subcommittee whose members we thank, including Simeon Liebman. It was his idea originally for the Leland Chase Outdoor Gallery. David Shankweiler, Scott Salyards, Ada Lubunchik, Brian Antonian, supervisor of the wastewater treatment plant where the gallery is located, Cindy Gorshey-Coleman, chair of Arts and Culture Advisory Committee, and Karen Clough, presiding as committee chair, with staff Nicole Delfino as our liaison. Thank you, Nicole. Dunedin Wastewater Treatment Plant is located 1140 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue in Dunedin. It is championed in those two names, Leland and Chase, by Almira Chase and Lorraine Leland, who collaborated together on education in the late 1950s and early 1960s. The product that we used on the Leland Chase Outdoor Gallery includes 3M Control Tack graphic film with a 3M gloss over laminate. I bring that to your attention because the artworks are licensed images by the artists. So on behalf of the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee, I'm pleased to welcome and introduce the artists who were selected for rounds 2 and 3 of the project. As we go through the images, I'll read brief bios on each of the artists, and then I'll ask the artists who are here with us this evening to come up for your recognition. Addie Rodriguez, Melody of Unexpected Bonds. She's in round 3. Addie Rodriguez is an emerging mixed media artist whose works combine 2D collage and 3D assemblage with a strong emphasis on texture and craftsmanship. Drawing on her background in fashion illustration and design, she creates tactile works by hand, thoughtfully layering materials into expressive compositions. Her work has been exhibited throughout Florida, including Florida Craft Art and the Gasparilla Festival of the Arts. Cherie Wolf, Raising the World of Tomorrow, also round 3. She's a Tampa Bay multimedia artist whose bold, colorful works spans pixel pop art, abstract expressionism, graphic design, and mixed media. Inspired by Florida landscapes, music, and the human spirit, she creates vibrant contemporary works that celebrate imagination and place. Wolf is an active participant in exhibitions and public art events throughout the Tampa Bay region. Patricia Kluwe Derdarian has 2 works, United Colors Feet, which is here on the screen, and Respect, also round 3. Originally from Brazil, Patricia is an architect turned artist whose expressive paintings blend structured drawing with intuitive color. Her City series reflects a belief that art can celebrate diversity and build connections across cultures. Now based in Pinellas County, she creates vibrant works inspired by people, places, and the energy of the community. Erica Eve Solomon. She has 2 works, Smart Owl and Queen. This is Solomon, this is Queen. She is a Pinellas County poet, mixed media artist, and behavioral therapist whose work is inspired by her Puerto Rican heritage and New York roots. Blending abstract expressionism with touches of surrealism, she explores themes of resilience, healing, and the strength of women. Her work has been exhibited throughout Florida and continues to evolve through painting and public art. Finn Rodriguez, All Hearts Around the World, round 2, is an emerging digital artist based in Florida. As a disabled LGBTQIA and Latinx creator, their work frequently explores and expresses themes of community, positivity, and pride in who you are. Their digital paintings have been celebrated in regional exhibitions, such as those hosted by Arts for All Florida. And Francis Sneer, Breakfast Vibes, is a mixed media contemporary surrealist fine artist. Sneer's work bridges a mixed form of media to create her work. Her most recent collection involves a series of 100 illustrations depicting life's candid moments. From working on illustrations, paintings, murals, and commissions, there is an artwork by Francis Sneer that will speak to you. The final work is by Meps Schulte and Stig Fonslet. Collaboration, I hear a yay. We Collaborate is the title of their work. Meps is a whimsical author, artist, and designer of books and public art. She has a million crazy creative ideas every single day. She has talked to strangers and makes people smile with her Happy Spot and Smile First projects. She is the chief happiness guru at 3 Choices Creative Communications. And last but not least is Stig Fonslet, her painting partner, her drawing partner in this. Who is Stig Fonslet? Even he doesn't know. So we have, I know that Erica Eve Solomon is here, and Cherie Wolf is here. I'm not sure I would recognize any of the others, but if you're also here, we'd love for you to come up, please.
So, okay, so Erica, you did the Queen and the Smart Owl, right? And Cherie, you did Raising the World of Tomorrow.
Correct. Yeah.
All excellent, by the way. So I think we might have a few questions for you, ladies. I'm going to start with Commissioner Gao.
Thank you, Mayor. Where do you get your inspiration from? And I looked through these art pieces, the art on the wall, the art we have through City Hall, and it doesn't come to me at all. And I sit and wonder when I look at all this art, where does that inspiration, where does that idea, that thought, how does it start? Where do you get it? How do you keep it going?
Go for it.
Oh, thank you. So for me, most of my art is always inspired by my true life and events that happen or have happened. And that piece specifically is actually my daughter and her classmates at their preschool. And I asked the teacher, please take a picture of them facing back, their back, holding up soccer balls, and I'm going to change it up a little bit because, the children are our future, and what I love most about Dunedin, that's a preschool right here on Patricia Avenue, is the diversity. Most of those students in that photo, the one girl at the end in the little blue shorts, she's actually trilingual, Russian, Spanish, and English. A lot of Hispanic culture, Guyana. So it's just nice being in a community, and when I saw this art project, I really wanted to hone into that, but my daughter inspires me every day. She is my purpose in life, and I just had to show the children.
Very good. Yeah, it's nice.
For me, I would say it's healing. It's about healing that inner pain that you might have that you don't really want to show. And that's why I paint. I kind of go in a trance. This one took me, I think I did this one in LA at a park while the kids played. It took me about 2 hours, and you're kind of just in the zone, and you can kind of transcend to another world. So for me, art is healing.
2 hours.
That's awesome.
I couldn't do that in 2 years.
Commissioner DeGar, do you have anything?
Yeah, Erica, your use of shapes is incredible.
Thank you.
There's constantly spheres, and there's motion in those spheres. You almost see things moving as it talks to you, and it's an exciting piece. I really like it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as far as your work and the balls, you can see motion before it happens. I mean, there's an expectation in it because they've all got the balls above their head, and they're about ready to throw it, and you almost want to beg them to throw it so you see where they all would go. It's just one of those things that builds an expectancy, which is metaphorically connected to the future that they're all going to have. It's just an exciting piece. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. How do you, when you produce these, I love the inspiration question because, obviously that's where it starts, right? But, kind of what's the next step in that process? Do you specifically go out and say, well, I want to do this in a watercolor, or I want to do this in acrylic, or just a sketch? How does that process typically go?
For me, I work with only acrylic. I just prefer it. It dries pretty quickly, and I enjoy that. I don't really work with water or oil, so I couldn't say, but I prefer acrylic painting.
Yeah.
For me, I do mixed media, so it all just is kind of what the image in my mind is, and I kind of create it based on what I expect the outcome to look like, and it could be a total use of materials. I use paint, photography, fabric. I've used butterflies, like real butterflies in artwork before, so it just, wherever my mind wants to see that final product, I just keep mixing and matching until I get kind of an end result that I feel complete with.
Yeah, that part's, amazing. The inspiration is part of it, but the concept, building that concept has got to be, I personally would get very overwhelmed with that. But anyway, well, thank you. It's beautiful. I greatly appreciate you sharing it with us.
Sure, go ahead. We got a follow-up question, so go ahead.
Yeah. No, and I do love this piece of work. Very nice. When you stepped up to start this, did you already have it in your mind, or, because we talked to an artist about a year ago at this point, I think, who said that she has no idea when she steps up to her canvas what's going to come. And that's something that I can't even imagine. And so did you already have this whole thing in your head, or you had nothing, or you had some concept?
For this piece, I just kind of let it flow. I truly was at the park in California, and I saw the kids playing, and I just thought about my path and my journey and how far I've come, and it just kind of came out. It was definitely, it flowed out of me. I did it so quickly. It was about 2 hours. I had to make the purple because I only had 3 colors, and I just kind of went with the flow. Yeah.
Amazing.
For me, I'm a little bit more kind of structured and controlled. Like, I have the idea, and I try and figure out how to complete it. I'm one of those, like, I always love the offering of help and stuff, but when I see it's not going the way I want it to, like, I gotta rein it back in. So for me, it's sometimes even stepping away, coming back to it till I can feel that it's coming right. But I always kind of start with a base inspiration, and a lot of times that does come from like different calls for artists and perspectives and stuff. It's like, okay, I love the title of this call for artists. What in my life connects with this? And that's where I go from there.
Very good. Yeah, and you mentioned that at the beginning, that it started out, you had an idea, asked them to take a picture of your idea. And from the idea that you had in your head at the beginning, how close is that idea to the final product?
Pretty much 100%.
Is it pretty much that's what you were thinking?
Yeah.
So when you saw the picture and started putting it on the canvas, you went, this is it, this is good.
I knew, I'm like, have them hold the balls, because I know I'm going to turn the balls into globes, because it's the kids raising the world of tomorrow. You know, it's a metaphor in that sense, so yeah.
They were using soccer balls, so they're all practicing their throw-ins during World Cup, so genius.
So we're going to put these two, I guess, in an art class where you can, yeah. Who knew they'd go this deep? First of all, can you put the owl up? I love the owl, and I love the kids with the world. My two favorites are those, Eric. That's my favorite for you, and I love yours is great. There's just something draws me to the owl and to the kids' pictures. That probably says something about me. I'm not sure what. Some psychologist will figure that out. The one question I did want to ask is, what is it about, because this is kind of a collaboration, cross-collaboration type of art thing where you have multiple pieces. Like was anything particular that drew you to want to submit to this?
To this, yeah, I thought it was beautiful. I kind of looked up the history of Leland Chase, and I definitely wanted to be a part of that. So just educating myself on that, and yeah, if you guys need me again, I'm here.
Okay, great. Sherry?
The same. It was definitely something about the call to the artist really honed me in and drew me in, and I always love testing my craft and putting myself through a challenge and coming up with something new, you know. I don't get a lot of time to create art. I work 6 days a week, and I'm a full-time housewife mother as well. So with balancing all that, sometimes I have to push myself to be creative, and so I love when things come about this way.
Well, we certainly appreciate you taking part in this adventure. If we had more time, I'd ask you guys about your tattoos. But yeah, we don't have time. But anyway, we really appreciate you being part of this. It's really important.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, okay, go right ahead.
Are we going to,
We're
is
out
this,
of control already.
is this part of, are we going to be displaying these pieces in here at any time, or?
These works are basically we've licensed the image, and the image has been produced on this vinyl that is permanently, well, impermanently, but permanently affixed to the wastewater treatment plant wall.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
What
We can bring the walls here.
What we do have are the final images that can be utilized with permission of the artist for an additional purpose.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Did you want to know a little bit more or share for those who did not know about Elmira Chase and Lorraine Leland?
Sure,
I have two brief
sure.
statements that I can add.
Sure. And I think we're going to keep this owl for kind of our inspiration in general in the commission chamber, right?
So Elmira Chase, founder and first principal of Washington School and Social Center in 1915 in Dunedin. The school was later renamed in her honor as Chase Memorial Elementary School, and it was closed in 1963. She was a woman of color. Lorraine Leland was instrumental in efforts to improve the education of black students through the Dunedin Educational and Enrichment Program, basically an acronym, DEEP. And they worked together, Elmira Chase and Lorraine Leland worked very closely together to help support the students to be able to go into desegregated schools and to be prepared and ready, and they did more than that. They were incredibly successful. So that is the background between the two women, Lorraine Leland being a white woman. So that completes the report at this moment.
Great. And
Unless you have other
these aren't up
questions.
yet, right? They're gonna?
They are completely up.
They are up. Okay, good.
The placement of the works is fabulous. We worked with Speed Pro, who did the printing and the installation, and they've done a marvelous, marvelous job. So we thank them as well.
That's great. Well, I'll drive that way home.
There you go.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you both.
Can I take a picture?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yes, picture.
Sorry, Sue is not here. Nope, you're good. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to Citizens input. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on a topic that is not on the agenda? Hi, David. Come on up. 3 minutes. Name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening. David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue in Palm Harbor. 4 years ago, my father died. 6 months after my father's funeral, I had not received any correspondence from Attorney Freeborn in regards to my father's...
David, I don't want to get personal. I know that you've brought up personal names before, but if you want to say an attorney, that's fine, but no personal names. It's really against our protocols. No personal names of anyone.
I believe referencing Attorney Freeborn is germane.
You can say attorney, but you can't say any personal names.
This is a personal matter, but it also regards businesses that are within the city of Dunedin that are acting in a rogue capacity to be called out pertinently in regards to fraudulent behavior that needs to be questioned. And when
This is not the place. If you want to just say an attorney, that's fine, but no personalizing. That's our protocols in chamber rules. I know that that's happened before, but we don't allow it. So
I'll omit the name Freeborn. If you'll start my time again,
we will start your time again. Thank you, David.
Thank you. 4 years ago, my father died. 6 months after my father's funeral, I had not received any correspondence from a particular attorney regarding my father's last will and testament, nor had I received a copy of my father's death certificate. When I finally went to this particular attorney's office, I was handed a forgery of my father's will. The signature on the will is a forgery as well, and when I called the police, I was the one under the threat of being arrested. I actually think that my mother unalived my father using a sedative and paid this particular attorney to forge my father's will. To this day, I've heard nothing in regards to my father's life insurance policy either. My father trusted this particular attorney and paid this attorney handsomely to see that my father's affairs were handled according to my father's will, none of which was done. This attorney and my mother both betrayed my father and have attempted to deceive me, disinheriting me in their process. 3 weeks ago, when I went to Curlew Hills Cemetery to visit my father's gravesite, I found that my mother's funeral had taken place. No one notified me of my mother's death. No obituary was posted anywhere. Downtown at the County Records Department, I found no death certificate. Neither was my mom's will to be found on the file downtown at the county. This particular attorney, in reference, working in this city, is a fraud on this particular matter, and an investigation needs to take place before he sets fire to that old wooden shack that he calls a law firm in his attempt to burn all the evidence. This is not a civil matter. A criminal investigation needs to take place, and if Sheriff Gualtieri is going to permit attorneys to behave criminalistically, then we have an investigation of a different posture and auspice to address. I will not let this matter rest. Be advised. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
For the record.
I'm sorry for your situation. Okay, was anyone else in the audience wish to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? Okay, seeing no one, we'll close citizen input, and I'm going to go to the consent agenda. So we've got 2A, approve the minutes of 7/7/2026 workshop. We have 2B, board and committee appointments. We've got some for Code Enforcement Board, Committee on Aging, Dunedin Causeway and Coastal Waterways Committee. We've got Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. 2C is authorized task order number 2026-04 for sanitary sewer cured in place pipe lining to Vortex Services LLC in the amount of $41,090. 2D, the restated coastal route funding agreement with the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, PSTA, for the Jolly Trolley. And 2E, approval of addendum number 1 to include additional services to Kimberly Horn's existing service authorization number M-3-25 and purchase order number 250477-001 in the amount of $43,230 for construction administration services for the Marina Bulkhead Repair Project for a total contract amount of $341,313. Does anyone wish to pull any of those items?
2D?
2D?
Yes.
Okay, any others?
2E.
2E, okay. Okay, any others? Okay, so except for those, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Third.
Okay. Okay, is there any public input on any of those agenda items? Okay, seeing no one coming forward, I will close public input on those consent items. And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, so we will go to the first item that was pulled, 2D, the restated coastal route funding agreement with the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, PSTA for Jolly Trolley. And are you looking for a certain?
Thank you for asking. No, on the basis of this agreement, I'm very satisfied. I'm just concerned about the conditions, how this is going to go forward if the Proposition 3 passes, and what are the provisions for its continuance.
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's a great question.
Certainly. Bob Ironsmith, Economic Development Director, and I have Matt Jackson here too. With regard to this coastal agreement, which has been very good for the city, for the downtown, if that goes through in November, we're going to have to take a serious look at it. It's a combination of CRA money and economic development, which is a general fund. The proportion amount is not real large from the city because of this pro rata between the CRA and the general fund. But yeah, we'll have to take a look at it. But it's something that we'd want to keep. It's a pretty high priority item for us.
I honestly don't see how Jolly Trolley can survive under that passage.
Oh, I'd have to defer to staff here that's with PSTA.
Okay.
With respect, I thought you were talking more about the city pro rata share.
No, the pro rata
Oh.
share, I'm very comfortable with all the arrangements and on an ongoing situation.
Certainly.
I'd be complete support and I wouldn't pull this. But I just need to know that there's some provision for the possibility of the proposition.
Certainly,
passing.
Commissioner. What I'd like to do is bring up Darden Rice and Nicole, who's with PSTA, to go over that item, because I'm not sure what their contingency budget is and what they're looking at
All right,
if that
thank you.
goes through.
Hi, Darden.
Hi. Thank you, Mr. Ironsmith. Good afternoon, good evening, Mayor, members of the Commission. First of all, PSTA, I just want to say is we're very happy to be here, and we're really proud of our long-term relationship with the City of Dunedin. I know a few months ago we did the ride-along on the ferry and the grouper. I've been working with Mr. Ironsmith and his team on the Skinner Boulevard Improvement Project. And my Director of Planning, Nicole Dufa, can get up and speak a little bit more to some of the details of what's before you today. To directly answer your question, Commissioner Dugard, if Amendment 3 passes, there's going to be a lot of things, frankly, on the table. That amendment, if it passes, it impacts about 68% of PSTA's operating budget. We would look at not just losing the trolley services, there probably won't be a new 727 service to the Tampa International Airport, there won't be a grouper or a snapper service, and there won't be a Tampa Bay ferry, and it would be a pretty serious setback to our regular route service. So, in the contract before you today, and Counselor, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's kind of boilerplate language in the contract that states that basically if you don't pay for the service, we don't provide it. So
This is not a force majeure situation, is it?
No, and there's a fiscal non-funding provision in there as well, so if at any time
All right.
you decide that you can't for the future fiscal year, it'll cease.
That's an excellent explanation. I don't think the general public understands how devastating all of this can be, and that's why I pulled this, and I wanted you
Yes,
to
sir.
have the opportunity to speak to it. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, it's draconian for sure.
I'm going to go next to Vice Mayor, since I know you're a representative on PSTA. Do you have anything or anything you want to add?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yes, it would be devastating, but I do want to just outline the positives here. And the positives are that, you know, the relationship that the city of Dunedin has with PSTA is beyond reproach. And my hope and desire, and hope is not a strategy, but is that in the event that the referendum does pass, that, you know, we can maybe figure something out. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to this, and I too am comfortable with the city's position on this fiscally. So I absolutely understand your comment with regards to the other things that PSTA, the wonderful things that PSTA has in place, specifically the Cross Bay Ferry, the grouper, and a whole host of other product offerings, if you will. If you know, and Nicole, if you want to just briefly summarize all that, that would be awesome, because I think the public really needs to understand what it is that is on the table.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vice Mayor Walker. Thank you, Mayor, Commission. We are grateful to be here. I'm Nicole Dufa. I'm the Director of Planning and Scheduling at PSTA, and so the service that we provide is near and dear to my heart and everything that we do on a daily basis. And in particular, our trolley service is an immensely popular service. We know here in Dunedin, as well as in Tarpon Springs, Clearwater, and the beaches, that both residents and tourists alike use this service. It is one of our most well-loved services, and so we know in 2025, fiscal year 2025, over 100,000 rides were taken on the Jolly Trolley Coastal itself. And so I think to your point, Commissioner, Vice Mayor Walker, there is a huge implication for the service that we would lose. We've been talking with our PSTA board about what the potential scenarios could be in the event of Amendment 3. And I think, Vice Mayor Walker, you'll see coming up this month a presentation by our Chief Planning and Community Affairs Officer, Darden Rice, as well as our CFO, Debbie Elias, on some of those impacts. But it could affect $22 million of our service. And so we're looking at all scenarios, routes that we do provide, where do we see the least harmful impact on where those cuts might come from. But we know that the Jolly Trolley is an incredible partner for us and for this community, as well as all of the communities on its route. And so we would absolutely hope that we could find some way to move forward.
Yeah, that's great explanation. And I would also, you know, and I know that you all are out there in the community, and you are talking about the ramifications of this, and you know, and the hope and desire here is that this doesn't come to fruition, and that you know, we can continue the great work that we're doing. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gao, questions?
Thank you, Mayor. I certainly share the comments of both my colleagues on the concern over Amendment 3, but certainly wanting to speak positively. I think that public transit is a need, it's not a want. And thinking positively, Nicole, could you tell us what's the feasibility of us going from hour service to at least half an hour?
I appreciate your question, Commissioner Gao. I know it's one that the City of Dunedin has explored before. We're really hopeful. I think in a positive light, you know, maybe early next year, we might be able to come back and present you a scenario that the Commission and the City would be really excited to take on. I think one of the potential scenarios that might be even more feasible is looking at a seasonal improvement to the service, really looking at the bulk of the ridership on the Jolly Trolley is in the months of January through May. And so really looking at an opportunity, maybe if it can't be year-round, if that cost isn't feasible, we could look at a more seasonal approach to that increase in service, knowing that there is a huge demand, in particular during that time. So we would absolutely be happy to explore that option, especially in the event of a more positive scenario in November.
Thank you for thinking positively.
Well, I'm going to go back to thinking negatively, although I'm hopeful that Amendment 3 won't pass. But that being said, you said, so you guys are in the second year, you would lose 22 million?
Yes.
And that's out of how much did you get in tax?
That was about 20%. So that's, I think our budget is 180 million.
About 181.
Okay. And as you are looking at your choices of what you would cut if it actually happened, which hopefully it won't, how do you kind of match up? Because I think of the trolley as more a tourism, and as is the boat, and as is the grouper. How does that match up against when you look at those kind of cuts, the buses that get people to work?
Absolutely. Well, I know one of the considerations that we'll make is the funding available. So if there are partners who are willing to maintain the funding partnership that we have funding certain routes, so we do have routes that are partially funded by the Florida Department of Transportation, for example, and those are some of our regional routes, and we know that because we have some support, those we would look at maintaining those because we have funding. Similarly, if the cities of Dunedin, Tarpon Springs, and the Clearwater DDB and Pinellas County were like, no, we value the Jolly Trolley, that would absolutely come into consideration. We are looking at scenarios that transport the most people, so really focusing on our routes that build the core of our network in Pinellas County, serving a lot of the major roadways where a majority of the jobs are located, and we know that is where our highest ridership is concentrated as well. And so that would absolutely be kind of that balancing act of looking at where can we preserve the core of our network, where it takes the most people to and from work, as well as some of the routes that connect people to those routes that get them to and from work. So coming from the neighborhoods and the like. And so really, I think evaluating the funding partnerships as well as the ridership and where we know that the service is needed the most.
Okay. I mean, as you go through your process, anything you can share, and I know that you can do it, Vice Mayor, but anything you can share staff to staff about what the cuts would be? Because we're going around obviously trying to educate people about the things that would, the other side of the equation, what would be lost. So,
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else? So I think we're good, and so I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any public input on this item? Okay, I have some. Yeah, you guys can sit. Thank you very much, though. You were very helpful. Come on down. Name and address for the record.
I'm running. Hi, Karen Mullins, Oakwood Drive. I want to thank Commissioner Duggar for pulling this item. It is especially important at this time that we discuss funding in every aspect. I want to say that I'm concerned not only for the tourists, which is a foundation, one of the foundations for the city of Dunedin. However, we have people living here that work and need these services to continue, along with, and what we didn't consider, and I haven't heard from PSTA, whether or not some of the extra services for those folks who have disabilities are going to be one of the first on the chopping block. We just lost the first and last mile services. That was a taxi or a service getting you from your house to the bus stop, and then from the bus stop to your house to fill that gap for a lot of these people, and that has gone away. So I want to thank you for bringing this up. This is a discussion that we need to continue to have and try to make sure that this ballot proposal does not pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to come and speak on this issue? Okay, seeing no one, I will ask for a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously, 4-0. Okay, we are going to go to the next one, approval of Addendum 1 to include additional services to Kimberly Horn. And who pulled this one? Did you? Okay. Vice Mayor, you want a presentation or you want questions?
Not a full presentation, but so I'll just preface by, so when issues of the marina repair come up and there's a dollar figure associated with those, this seems to be a string of events that doesn't quite ever end. And I'm just kind of curious, because I went through the background, tried to get through the scope, but can you just briefly describe what the scope of this $43,000 is for? It's not clear to me how it's different from what we've already contracted.
Yeah, absolutely. Clayton Watkins, Utilities and Engineering. I'll sort of hit bullet point by bullet point for what we did and where the changes were. The first item was an additional 3 months of site of doing progress meetings and inspections as part of the extension of the timeframe of the contract. The contractor is still extending. There were some other things where we made some design changes. Specifically, so there was some grading we wanted to tweak. After we got going, we wanted to tweak some of the grading as you come off of the deck that comes off near the restaurant. The way it was initially set up, we weren't touching that. We wanted to make sure we could try to redo some grading at that point to collect the rainwater that we were putting in the system that's part of the wall. So that was some additional work. The other one was we had initially put a location for the electrical connection for the future for docks A and B. And then in that scenario, we moved that. And with that, they went through a little bit fuller design to make sure we had enough conduit at that time. So we added about three to four more conduit in that space to make sure we weren't tearing anything up in the future. So that was not necessarily, they were just putting it in as where they believed it. Then once we kind of got down the line of A, we went ahead and moved it, A and B, we went and moved it into construction as part of this. But it was still portion of some of the work was already in that contract. This was additional design on top of that. And then the other item was the design for the north wall, where we initially had a design where the wall was just being tipped up, but after going out and during construction, the wall had righted itself. So we had to go back in and come back with a small set of design plans and revisions to move the steel from the north wall from the east wall to the north wall. So that was some of the additional work that they did.
Okay, no, all right, thank you for that. So just to kind of paraphrase that, this is basically for the design and inspection services of the scope that we talked about, I don't know, 2 or 3 meetings ago. The electrical, the water.
Yes, yes,
yeah.
some of that stuff is yes.
Okay, all right, so
And there's some additional time for site visits and meetings as part of the construction.
Got it. Okay, nope, thank you for that. All right.
Yep.
Okay, anyone else have any questions about this one? Okay, we will continue on. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to come forward and speak on this issue? Okay, seeing no one, I will close public input, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, 4-0. Okay, we're going to go on to our first action item. Application LUP ZO-2026-001, city-initiated land use plan amendment and rezoning request, along with a declaration of restrictive covenants for the city-owned property located at 1241 St. Christopher Drive. First reading of ordinance 26-06, land use plan amendment from public/semi-public to retail and services. First reading of ordinance 26-07, rezoning from municipal public lands to form-based medium, FXM. So we're going to have one presentation from staff, but one or more of the ordinances are quasi-judicial. Therefore, I'm going to request the city clerk to swear in anyone who intends to speak.
Do you swear the testimony you are about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you.
Okay, and does anyone up here need to disclose any ex parte contact for the record? Okay, I don't see anybody there. So ordinance 26-06, land use designation. Jen, could you please read ordinance 26-06 by title only?
Certainly. Ordinance 2606, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, amending the City of Dunedin future land use plan as adopted by ordinance 20-01 on certain real property located at 1241 San Christopher Drive, parcel number 26-28-15-00000-240-0700, with designated meets and bounds and totaling approximately 1.1 2.17 acres to assign a retail and services RNS land use designation and providing for an effective date. That was ordinance 26-06, read by title only.
Great, and could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Dugard and Vice Mayor. Okay, we'll go to staff presentation by George and Bob.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start it out.
You guys are trying to confuse us, right, by being,
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
don't take it personal, George, right? Okay.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. Good evening. George Kinney on behalf of the Community Development Department. I will walk through the technical pieces of the application, and Bob and Matt from the Economic Development team are here to talk about some of the economic development implications behind what we're doing tonight. So as noted, this is a city-initiated land use plan and zoning amendment request. The applicant is the city, who is represented by Mr. Ironsmith and Mr. Jackson. The site address is 1421 San Christopher Drive, which is a property size, with a property size of approximately 1.17 acres. As you can see by the map to the left, the property is outlined there to the left-hand side of the screen. It is a flag-shaped lot with minimal lot frontage and extends south into an area that's surrounded by approximately 15 residential homes. And you can see the site is located just south of San Christopher and in between Robin Hood Lane and Lady Marion Lane. Very quickly, just a little bit on the property history. It is a 1.17 acre property. Commonly referred to as the Jones Building. It was acquired by the city in June of 1976 for a little bit more than $150,000. It is a 1975 structure at approximately 15,750 square feet in size with a mezzanine area for storage. The north end of the building includes offices and bathrooms. This previously served as the Parks Division offices, workshop, and maintenance storage facility, as well as other uses over time and from time to time. Several years ago, the Parks Division relocated their operations to the city facility on Solon, vacating the Jones Building for good, and you probably know it's been used for storage and certain services over the past few years. It was back in October of 2022 that the City Commission declared this building a surplus property, and by way of background, Exhibit I includes the meeting minutes of that discussion when it was declared surplus property. Regarding the current land use for the subject property, it is, the current underlying land use is public, semi-public, as noted on the map to the left. This, as you could imagine, primarily supports public and municipal services. Staff is proposing this amendment, this land use amendment to reach back into this property and be consistent with the land use that's currently located along San Christopher, and that would be the R&S, or retail and services land use category. The city certainly understands that this land use could be a concern from residents because of the nature and type of the uses supported by this designation. Accordingly, in a couple more slides, I'll get to something that we did in the form of what's called a declaration, a restrictive covenant, if you will, to kind of protect some of those interests for those property owners that surround that property. This is very quickly a staff evaluation of that land use plan provision. Both the floor area ratio and impervious surface area ratio meet the standards outlined for the retail and services designation. So really the takeaway from this slide is that, and you can see that from that center graph there, that there are no nonconformities that would be created by the change to retail and services. From a zoning perspective, the zoning for the property is municipal public lands, which obviously supports municipal public uses. Staff, again, is proposing, much like the land use, the same category. Staff is proposing the zoning amendment to match the current zoning along San Christopher and extend that back into what is called our form-based medium zoning designation. And very much like the proposed land use, the city, again, understands that there are a number of permitted uses that go with that FXM zoning that could be not complementary to that surrounding residential area to the rear. And again, in a few slides, I'll get back to that restrictive covenant and talk about how we set this up so we could create some good land use compatibility pieces to that surrounding neighborhood. From an evaluation standpoint, the dimensional standards outlined for FXM designation are met. And again, much like the land use category, the center chart shows that there would be no nonconformities created by changing this property to that FXM zoning category. So how does the city make these recommendations while protecting the surrounding community? Staff worked with the city attorney, Jennifer Cohen's office, and thank you to them, to work on something that it's called a declaration of restrictive covenants. Basically what that declaration does is it, while the zoning and land use would apply and all of the uses and entitlements that go along with that would necessarily be there, this actually restricts those uses to what is described within that restrictive covenant. Any purchaser of the property would be bound by these restrictions. It would be part of the deed and it would be recorded in perpetuity. Exhibit F in your staffing notes that covenant in question, and it limits the permitted uses to those identified, including service, industry, and maintenance, single-family dwellings, duplex, multifamily dwellings, group homes, religious, and educational facilities. So that is really it. That's the list of permitted uses that would be allowed in that site, despite the zoning and the land use that's being considered this evening. It's important to note that nuisance-generating activities, including manufacturing, are not permitted as a result of this covenant. Knowing that this proposal is a bit unique because of the covenant, staff did set up a public meeting in early June and invited surrounding residents to attend that session and ask any questions. We did have one resident that attended, and her primary concern, interestingly enough, was something that was already addressed by the covenant, and that was the condition of the concrete wall along the west property line, which is, as I mentioned, specifically mentioned in the covenant. Again, no manufacturing, I think, is key, so there will be no nuisances back there. And really, I think the vision at this point is to extend the existing business that is currently at 1251 San Christopher into the back. And I know the property owner's here, and the applicant, and Bob is here to talk a little bit more about what the plans for that property will be. Second to last slide, the city benefits to conveying the property. There are a number of benefits that come with this arrangement. The lower left image, as you can see, there is a snippet of the covenant. Roman numeral 1 articulates the permitted uses that I had already mentioned. Roman numeral 2 discusses the aforementioned repair of the concrete wall, along with the repair of the wood fence along the south and east property lines. So there's some work that's done once this property is transferred. And Roman numeral 4 speaks to compatibility and nuisance protection. In general, staff is confident that we have created an environment that works for any new property owner while also protecting that surrounding community to the rear. The LPA did consider this item at their meeting in July and unanimously recommended approval with the recommendation to the commission of the following conditions. The first being the waiver of the $2,000 application fee for the city. And then the second was a consideration that after the closing date, there would be a 6-month time limit for repairs to the walls, as noted in the covenant, and also that there would be some reconfiguration of the existing driveway to meet fire standards. With that, staff is recommending approval with the declaration of restrictive covenants to both Ordinance 2606 to change the land use plan category of the subject property from public, semi-public to retail and services, and also Ordinance 26-07 to change the zoning district designation from municipal public lands to form-based medium. It should be noted that this will be a Tier 2 amendment once it's transmitted to the Pinellas County, so it will take some time to come back. But so that's why your second reading is to be determined. We'll get that back probably in about 3 to 4 months, it would be my guess. So with that, I'm going to conclude. I know Bob probably has some comments, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Sure. Bob Ironsmith, Economic Development Director. George did a very good, thorough, comprehensive overlay there. Just a couple of things. One, as George mentioned, the property was deemed surplus. It was certainly used by the Parks Department for a number of years. They relocated onto Salon, and the property really became something that the city could see as surplus and go ahead and sell. So what we did is the property's a little bit unique because it's a flag lot, and there is some shared drainage out there currently between the property owner, which is Beaux-Arts, and the city. So what we did is we talked with Beaux-Arts, Jesse, who's here, and Scott Rim, the broker, to explore, would you guys be interested in purchasing it? And if so, do you realize there's going to be conditions and restrictions on the property? We wanted to be very sensitive to the adjacent property owners. What they're looking to do, and he's here and he can explain a little bit more, Jesse, is they're using it really for a little bit of offices, and then also storage is what they're looking to do. They're not looking to do any type of manufacturing out there. That's why we went ahead and made sure that we had the restrictive covenant in play. The next aspect after, if this is approved tonight, is we're in the process of getting appraisals. We're going to go ahead and get two, an average of two, and then deal with City Attorney Jen Cowan on our purchase and sale agreement. So that would be the next component. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. I think this is a big plus for the city. It's certainly going to be some revenue at a time that is needed. So, and since it's not being used and just deteriorating, let's go ahead and get it on the tax rolls. The other thing nice is this is a local business. He's growing. He's doing quite a bit, and this also allows him to stay in the city and continue his operation.
So before we do questions, Jesse, did you want to say anything? You don't have to. Okay. Good for you. Okay. So questions for staff. I will go to Commissioner Gao.
Thank you, Mayor. The residential properties that surround the property in question tonight, what's their zoning? What's the zoning of those properties around?
They're all R60.
Yeah.
R60? Yeah. Okay. And the wall, I know that it's in the covenant, but when they fix the concrete wall part, not the fence, will they pretty it up on both sides? Or is it up to the homeowner that's on the other side of the wall to look at concrete block and do with it what they want?
So I don't know if, they would be fixing anything that's located on their property, on that property. So I don't know where the wall sits. I'm assuming the wall sits entirely within the Jones Building, property, so they would be responsible.
And I don't know either, but since it was brought up, I thought I'd ask the question.
Yeah.
You know.
So they would, in my opinion, they would be responsible for fixing anything that's located on their property entirely. So if that wall is located on their property, then they would be fixing both sides of it.
Okay, and if it's a wood fence, and you've got two sides of a wood fence, one is the pretty side and the other one is the sausage side. And when I'm dealing with, if I put a wood fence on my property line, the pretty side has to face out. And so I assume that's the way it's going to be here, that the wood fence. And so the neighbor gets the benefit of the pretty side of the fence, right? And so that's what my question is about the concrete wall.
Yeah, so
what is the resident going to get?
Yeah, so on the fence, it would depend on whether or not it's a repair or if it's a tear down and redo. So if it's a tear down and redo, you'd have to meet current code and the structural elements would have to point inward. If it's already existing, and I'm not sure what's out there, I don't know if it's a box fence or a regular.
Yeah, it's a wood stockade, and a lot of it is in disrepair, so quite a bit.
I would assume the structural elements are already facing inward, and if that's the case, then they would simply repair it, maintain it as it exists. The concrete wall, though, would have to be repaired in its entirety, because the likelihood is it's located entirely on the Jones Building site.
Okay. And again, around this property, there's no FXM property?
The FXM is, so the properties along, let me go back to this one. So the properties along San Christopher are all FXM. And that's the reason that we're recommending FXM, because we can't really spot zone it. So we either have to go, basically have to go R60 or FXM. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
And I will tell you, Commissioner, we had several discussions with the county on this because there was a little bit of resistance at the beginning on this one. And I think the restrictive covenant's what did it. So I think we're in pretty good shape with that recommendation.
Is there any process for eliminating or diminishing those covenants?
I'll look to Jen on that. I would assume that it have to be,
Does that go
have
with
to
the
come back
sale, or
to.
do they run with the property?
They run with the property.
They run with the property?
Yeah.
Okay.
We want the ultimate protection for the residents, as you were saying. That it runs
And I respect that. And so if it runs with the property, does that mean that the property owner can't ask for a change, or?
Yeah, so basically, as the property owner, you're recording this restriction on the property,
Right.
and it'll be in the chain of title
Right.
forever.
Okay. But does that mean it can't be changed forever? 5 owners from now, I don't know how long that is. Can they go, hey, we're thinking something different. Can we change the covenants? We'd like to do this. Or is it a permanent change? This is the way the property is.
So generally restrictive covenants are for the life of the property.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And that's all that I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Dugard, questions?
Would the new owner be doing much better with this property than the old owner?
I think it's a good benefit for the surrounding property to get the perimeter and the buffer fixed and the building, yes.
I
Yeah.
thought I'd throw that in there for a little bit
Sure.
of fun. First of all, I happened to watch the LPA when they were considering this, and they made one key point, want to be sure it's correct, and that is that basically there's only 2 possible owners for this piece of property under current structure. And one is us, and the other's the prospective buyer. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, it is, because it's a flag lot, and it's very difficult. Yeah, it really is, that's why we dealt mostly with Beaux-Arts. We looked at some other opportunities for a city, but it just didn't work out either. But yeah, this was the opportunity. I mean, for someone to purchase a flag lot with a restrictive covenant in a deteriorated state, yes.
I have no more questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Vice Mayor, questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with this. When I was the Dunedin Cares liaison, they would looked at this. My question, I guess, is pretty straightforward. Any feedback at all from the surrounding residents during the public input, public hearing part?
Commissioner, so when we did the city-initiated public hearing, there was one resident that showed up. I think she was pretty satisfied with the fact that the covenant had already covered the repair of the wall. There were a couple of comments at LPA, but most of them were based on, one was, if I recall correctly, was, are you sure that you want to get rid of it? This land's hard to come by, and does the city really want to dispose of it? And I think Bob did a good job of explaining that it was surplus property, and it was really, time to probably move on from it. And I think that answer was satisfied. That's the only 2 comments I recall at this point.
Okay, well, I have no further questions, Mayor.
Okay, so my question is height. No matter what the use, could it be torn down, and how high could it be? Or I guess it would go to compatibility, right? Or
Exactly.
so they couldn't do something crazy there.
Yeah, so
height-wise.
FXM allows you up to, I believe, 2 stories, maybe. Let's see, I think I have it here. Building height, max is 27 foot for building height. And then again, compatibility would always kick in if.
Okay. All right, I think I'm good. So next is applicant presentation. Since we're the applicant, I assume we don't have that. So moving past that. So I'm going to open public input. Anyone in the audience wish to come forward and speak on this issue? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close public input. Let's see, look at rebuttal. Some of these are just not applicable. Okay, so we'll go to commission comments. Go to the maker of the motion, which was Commissioner Dugard.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is a match made in heaven. End of comments.
Okay, and seconder of the motion, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I will echo those comments. Having been and walked through that property, I think this appears to be a win-win. For the city, it certainly is. But I think the message here is that Beaux-Arts is growing, and we are happy to accommodate that growth. And I know you all will do something good for the residents with that wall. Thank you.
Commissioner Gao.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, it's nice to get this done. The only comment that I will make is we have a lot of nonprofits in town, and I know there's at least one that is desperately looking for storage. If they were happen to come to you, I hope that would be a amenable conversation, and whatever happens, happens. But That's the only plug that I'll make. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, my final comment, I mean, this is great. I mean, this is kind of a long time coming. I'm glad your business is growing. I'm glad it works out. It works out for both of us. I could tell you some stories about that building, but we don't have that. We're not going to run this night, but, okay. So it's got some good history to it. But I think this is a good place for it to end up. So we're going to go to roll call vote.
Commissioner Gao,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Walker,
Aye.
Commissioner Dugard,
Aye.
and Mayor Franey.
Aye, and motion passes unanimously, which is 4-1 tonight. I mean, 4-0, sorry. Okay, now we're going to go to ordinance 26-07, zoning designation. Jen, could you please read ordinance 26-07 by title only?
Ordinance 26-07, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, zoning certain real property located at 1241 San Christopher Drive, parcel number 26-28-15-0000-240-0700, with designated meets and bounds totaling approximately 1.17 acres to form-based medium FXM and providing for an effective date. That was ordinance 2607, read by title only.
Okay, could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we've already had our presentation, so anything to add, George, as far as this goes?
The only thing I failed to mention too, in addition to the wall and the landscaping, or the wall and the fence repair, there is a significant landscaping piece to it as well. Just wanted to mention that. So it will be tidied up really nice, I think.
And just to clarify, the restricted covenants, they go with what? How do they get attached to these ordinances?
So they don't get attached to the ordinance. What'll happen is when there's the sale of the property, it'll be recorded at the time of the sale.
Gotcha. So we're just kind of making sure we're covering that base tonight as well.
Mayor, if I might, it will be transmitted to the county as part of the record, though.
Okay, gotcha. That's because that's part of what let them move forward with us. Okay, good. Okay, so any other questions for staff, starting with Vice Mayor?
No further questions.
Commissioner Gao?
No questions.
Commissioner Dugard?
Thank you, no questions.
Okay, and I don't have any questions. I'll open it to public input. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on ordinance 26-07? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close public input, and I'm going to go to commission comments, starting with maker of the motion, which was Commissioner Gao.
No comments.
Okay, and Vice Mayor, seconder of the motion,
No further comments.
and Commissioner Dugard?
No comments.
And I don't have any additional comments either. We'll go to roll call vote.
Commissioner Dugard,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Walker,
Aye.
Commissioner Gao,
Aye.
and Mayor Franey.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously, 4-0. Okay, and second reading, as we stated, is to be determined, so you'll notify us when that comes back. Okay, and thank you. Great. Okay, 3B, second reading of ordinance 25-02, amending Chapter 111 of the Land Development Code, Historic Preservation. Jen, can you please read ordinance 25-02 by title only?
Sure. Ordinance 2502, an ordinance of the City of Dunedin, Florida, amending Chapter 111, Historic Preservation of the City of Dunedin Land Development Code to provide for more comprehensive requirements and procedures for properties and structures to be designated as local historic landmark and landmark sites, amending Table 104-1.1, development approval requirements of the City of Dunedin Land Development Code to provide for approval requirements related to historic landmark and landmark site applications and certificates of appropriateness for historic landmark and landmark site applications consistent with the amended language of Chapter 111, amending Table 104.1.2, notice requirements of the City of Dunedin Land Development Code related to historic landmark or landmark site applications and certificate of appropriateness for historic landmark and landmark site applications consistent with the amended language of Chapter 111, amending Section 104-20.1, generally to recognize historic landmark and landmark sites consistent with the amended language of Chapter 111, creating Chapter 109, Administrative Agencies, Division 5, Historic Preservation Committee, to codify the Historic Preservation Committee as the board responsible for overseeing various parts of Chapter 111, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date. That was Ordinance 25-02, read by title only.
I could not hear her. Can she?
Yeah, well, no, we'll play you a tape later, Doc. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Dugard, Vice Mayor, and staff presentation, Francis and George.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioner Francis Leong Sharp, Planner 2 for the city. I would like to ask permission to present this second reading of the ordinance in addition to the companion resolution that will come after.
You have our permission. I'm just going to jump in there unless somebody disagrees. Okay.
Thank you. Once again, this is the second reading of Ordinance 25-02, which is the Historic Preservation Ordinance update. There has been no changes from the first reading that we had back on July 23rd. So just to do a high-level recap of what's changed in the Historic Preservation Ordinance is the ability to allow one to designate not only a landmark, but a landmark site. In addition to making some clarifications to the notice sections of the application portion of the ordinance, as well as cleaning up the inconsistencies of the Historic Preservation Committee processes. The other key changes, which is part of the Historic Preservation Ordinance revision, is the creation of the Historic Preservation Committee. So the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee will be now called the Historic Preservation Committee. And in addition to that, one of the big important changes that we have is with the companion resolution, which is the update to the Certificate of Appropriateness, also known as COA matrix, basically telling us, instructing us of what level review would rise to certain changes of the already designated structures and landmark sites. A lot of that changes that we've done is that we have provided a more quicker, less burdensome process for anybody who wants to make changes on their landmarks. One of which is that a majority of the review would only rise to the level of the Historic Preservation Committee review. The only two items that we would give City Commission review are the proposed demolition of over 20% of a contributing structure, as well as the relocation of a contributing structure. Other than that, staff once again recommends approval for the second reading of the ordinance, as well as the companion COA matrix resolution. Thank you.
Okay. Questions for staff? Commissioner Gao?
No questions?
Commissioner Dugard?
No questions.
Vice Mayor?
No questions.
I don't have any either. For those watching, second reading, so we've all been through this a lot, and beyond that. So I'm going to open it to public input. Anyone in the audience wish to come forward and speak on this? Former Vice Mayor, you good? You have to come up. I had a feeling you had that look. Appreciate you being here, too.
Absolutely. Well, I
Name and
truly,
address.
I'm sorry, Deborah Kynes, 265 Edgewater Drive. You know, I truly do believe that really all good things do take time. And this has taken time, and it's a much better ordinance and COA, and we really appreciate your consideration in voting to finalize this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deborah. Thanks for all you do for the community. We love you. Okay, anyone else in the audience wishing to come forward to speak on this issue? Okay, seeing no one else, I'll close public input. I'll go to final commission comments, starting with maker of the motion, Commissioner Dugard.
Yes, it does take time. Good things do take time, and I know a lot of staff work has gone into this. I feel somewhat responsible for some of that staff time, if you want to know the truth, but this is going to be well worth the effort. I think we've got more steps in the future, and I'm looking forward to those steps as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Seconder of the motion, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a much better ordinance, and I think it is highly appropriate that we flow down some of the approvals with that certificate of appropriateness to staff and other levels. I say that from personal experience.
You don't want to go through that with your windows again? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm not going to give away anything, but there may be something coming forward, so thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Gao, final comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, no, I just agree with all my colleagues. It's been a long time coming. There's also been a lot of pain in trying to get where we are, but this is, at the end, a much better ordinance. So, well done.
Yeah, I agree. I want to thank staff, Francis and George, for all you've done. I want to thank Deborah and your committee and all that you guys have done. I want to thank the community because, it's been kind of a little bit of a ride. But I do think we got to where we are supposed to be. And we've also streamlined the process, which is great because it did need to be, certain decisions did not need to become to our level. So I think it's good. And anyway, so let's do a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gao,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Walker,
Aye.
Commissioner Dugard,
Aye.
and Mayor Franey.
Aye, motion passes unanimously.
Mayor, if I may, also, the attorney has been deeply, deeply involved
Oh,
in this as
yes.
well.
Thank you, Jen Cohen. Yeah, I know. No, but, well, sometimes you're just so great, it's easy to overlook that, but thank you for everything. You work,
She's happy it's the second
you work
reading.
hard on city treasurer. Yeah, yeah, she's just, yeah. So, thank you to both of you, because it's been quite a ride for all of us, so, and definitely for you guys. Okay, so we're going to go to Resolution 25-13, amending the Certificate of Appropriateness Matrix as required by Chapter 111 of the Land Development Code. Jen, can you please read Resolution 25-13 by title only and make sure everybody in the audience and on camera, streaming, knows this is kind of the companion to what we just did. Go ahead.
Yes. Resolution 25-13, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dunedin, Florida, approving the Certificate of Appropriateness, COA, matrix for historic landmark or historic landmark sites, repealing Resolution 19-29, and providing for an effective date hereof. That was Resolution 25-13, read by title only.
Well, that was way too short compared to the other one. Okay, there we go. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, there we go. Okay, we already had our presentation. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or we're good?
Nothing more to add.
Okay, questions for staff?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, for any of us? Okay. I'm going to open it to public input. Anyone in the audience wish to come forward? So name and address for the record. You don't have to run. We don't want you to fall. It's all good, Karen.
Karen Mullins, Oakwood Drive. I want to thank Deborah Kynes and Jennifer and Francis for this. This was blood, sweat, and tears, and they did such a wonderful job. Thank you, Commission, for working with us on this. Again, I want to thank the people on this committee. Thanks.
Thank you, too. Okay, any other person in the audience wish to come forward on this issue? Okay, seeing no one, I'll close public input. I'm going to go to commission comments. The clearly first one and maker of the motion, Vice Mayor. You have any final comments?
I pretty much said it all, so
Okay.
no further comments.
Okay, seconder of the motion, Commissioner Dugard.
I concur with my colleague. You said it all.
And Commissioner Gao, final comments?
No final comments.
And I don't have any either. I think we've kind of said our thank yous and appreciate it for everybody. So, okay, roll call vote.
Commissioner Gao,
Aye.
Commissioner Dugard,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Walker,
Aye.
and Mayor Franey.
Aye, and that motion passes unanimously, 4-0. Okay, there we go. We're going to go 3D, fiscal year 2025 CAFR, or what we were calling it a little different now, I know, and audited financial statements, and staff presentation. I guess we start with Les, right?
And we always start with more, but less than.
Yeah, less is more, right, yeah. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Les Tyler, the Finance Director.
Les, a little bit closer to your
Okay.
microphone.
I'm not going to throw it off either, yeah. I'm happy to be here this evening to present our fiscal year 25 annual comprehensive financial report, and which is also our audited financial statements. I would like to thank my accounting team who prepared this document and all their efforts and hard work over the past 6 months working with the CPA firm. This is a very large financial document with lots of information regarding our city's financial position as of September 30th, 2025. We have Jeff Wolf here with the audit firm Forvis Mazars with us today. I'll turn it over to him to go over the highlights of our 25 audit.
Thank you, and good evening.
I'm going to stay here if that's okay, because I'm not sure if this pointer is working, so I'm going to sit down if that's all right.
It's all good.
Okay. First of all, I always start with this. I want to thank the commission for allowing us to serve you. We are your external auditors, and we work for you. And
Is your mic on?
Is there a problem? Mike Weiss's microphone, is it on?
Got it. Now it's on.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
So again, just want to thank you again for allowing us to serve you as your external auditors. And I also want to point out, because I think it's an important item to note, this is our second year under Forbes Mazars doing the audit, but this is really the first year under our new audit methodology. So that means we looked at things differently, we asked different questions, really almost like a fresh look audit. And I think you'll be happy with the results, that you got the same results as expected, but with really fresh audit, definitely a new way of looking at things. So with that, I'll go right into the presentation. First, part of your board package should be a required communication letter. I'll go over it briefly. It's kind of very standard driven, but it really goes over our responsibilities as your auditor to perform an audit in accordance with government auditing standards and ultimately render an opinion on your financial statements. Secondly, management is responsible for the financial statements. That's their main role, is to establish internal controls to provide reasonable assurance that your financial statements are materially correct. That very large document, that ACFR, is prepared by management. It's our responsibility to audit it. Then it just goes on really to discuss what we consider some significant estimates as part of the ACFR, significant disclosures. And then we did have one past adjustment. And what that is it's an audit adjustment that came up that was noted towards the end of the audit, not deemed material. So management elected not to record it, just to the timing of the audit, and it was deemed immaterial, which we agreed upon. It relates to uniqueness of revenue recognition as it relates to FEMA revenue. Basically, you don't record the revenue until it's obligated. So there was some little confusion on whether the revenue was obligated in September and October. It turns out it was in October, so that revenue was recorded in fiscal year 25 with a receivable, but really should have been in 26. So again, not a significant issue, certainly not material enough to make that adjustment, but it is, the standards require us to communicate that to it, but it really just is kind of the uniqueness of FEMA grant reporting. So I note that, but again, you'll see there's no finding that goes with it, so nothing to be too concerned about. So then just, again, that we had no difficulties, no problems. Lesson staff is always great to work with, very responsive, so it's important to note that as well. So going on to the reports, good news, it's going to be a very boring few minutes because it's going to be very repetitive, but again, I think I've mentioned before, when it comes to audit reports, no news is really good news. So first is our independent audit report on the financial statements. The city received an unmodified opinion. That is the highest level of assurance you can receive that your financial statements are materially correct. That's a clean opinion. Our next report is our report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance. So part of the government auditing standards requires us to gain an understanding of controls, but really it's to help plan our audit. We don't render an opinion on those controls, but if certainly if we saw issues with controls, we would modify our approach and then we would communicate those to you. So part of that is if we had any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal controls, we would report those to you. But again, this is a clean report, no findings, no issues noted. Again, the city met both the federal and state single audit threshold, so it means they qualified for a separate audit related to federal grants and state grants. This year, on the federal side, the FEMA reimbursement, that grant was selected as a major program on the federal side. Then on the state, the state water quality grant, and then the spring training grant, which typically gets selected every year, was deemed a major state project. Again, unmodified opinion as it relates to compliance, so that's the highest level, again, of assurance on compliance. And also part of the single audit is internal controls, and no internal control findings related both to the federal and state single audit. So again, a clean report, no issues noted. Next is our independence accountant report, and this just really covers compliance with Florida statutes as relates to investments. Again, no findings, no issues of non-compliance noted. Lastly is the Auditor General Required Management Letter. This letter really covers several things. First, if the city was in any kind of deteriorating financial condition or any financial emergency, we'd be required to communicate that to you. No issues there, obviously. There's no deteriorating financial condition. And then lastly, if there's any other findings in the audit that maybe didn't reach the level of the internal control report, we would report that to you. But again, no findings, no issues noted, clean report. So, I really think from the report side, the takeaway is a fresh set of eyes, a fresh look at your processes, different questions, looked at things differently, and ultimately same results. So just quickly, just moving on to some quick financial highlights. So this is your citywide analysis. So meaning probably a little bit different than what you see in the budget. This is your full accrual, capital assets, long-term debt, and broken up between your governmental activities that are supported mainly through taxes, and then your business type activities, which supported through fees. So I think that probably there's two takeaways here. Is first, you have positive net position in all three categories. Not all municipalities can say that, so that's positive. That's part of that is just that your fire pension is well funded, and then what you've done to to move away from some of the pensions. So again, strong net position there. And then looking at your current ratio, just your ability to pay your current liabilities with current assets. Both very strong numbers. Last year was 5.5 in the governmental activities, down to 4.9, but overall pretty consistent. And then your business type activities went from 4 to 3.5. So overall, very consistent and strong health, as the city looking at it as a business. Now on to the general fund, which is probably a little bit more familiar. This is your main operating fund. Again, I think probably go right to the, probably the key number is that unassigned fund balance. 28.7%, still a very strong number. Now you see it went down from 45.1%, and that's really the impact of the hurricanes and still, not getting fully reimbursed from FEMA yet. So although, a pretty significant decrease from prior year, still 28% is well within guidelines of a strong fund balance. So I don't think there's any concern there. And you're really seeing the impact of the hurricanes there that, occurred at the end of '24. Looking at the budget, you'll see that it's a little misleading. It looks like your revenue and other financing sources came in under budget, but that's really related to a transfer that was sent to the internal service fund for the garage. And just the way that recording was, it was budgeted as a transfer, but it was in the financial statement, it was treated as an advance because it's going to be repaid. So it was really just a balance sheet item. So actually your revenue came in, because that was the $5 million that basically was budgeted but then recorded as an advance. So really you're about $2 million up on revenue. And then your expenditures, $10 million under budget. A lot of that is just some delay of capital projects, and then some positive budget variances in the Parks and Recreation Department. So overall, we had a positive fund change in fund balance of 6.1 million of 2.6 compared to 8.7. So that is all, from the financial information. I think, again, the city remains in strong financial condition, and again, another clean, successful audit. But I'd be more than happy to answer any questions on the process, the results, or anything you might have.
Okay, questions for staff or Jeff? I'll start with Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just can you distinguish the difference between the governmental activities and the business type activities?
Yeah, sure. So your governmental activities are your general fund, your special revenue funds that are predominantly supported, through your property tax, sales tax, and that, those cover your general activities, your public safety, your general government. That's your really the service Parks Department. Those services are covered by taxes, where your business type activities are your water and sewer, your utilities that are supported by user fees.
Okay, no, it's perfect. And you mentioned the current ratio. What was it last year? You said,
Yeah, last year, the governmental activities was 5.5, so 4.9, so pretty consistent.
so that's consistent?
Yes.
That's not a declining trend, we'll call it consistent?
I would say consistent trend, yeah.
Okay. And that just I've got to think back to my MBA, but that's current assets over current liabilities, right? Okay, all right.
Look at you.
He's an artist and he's a CPA.
Now you guys have just derailed the thought train. Anyway, those are all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Gao. Questions?
I will not get a look at you from the commission with my questions. Jeff, thank you very much. And you had mentioned that you looked at our financials kind of through the lens of a first-year audit.
Correct.
And how many years have you been with the city of Dunedin?
Been more than 10. That I'll say. It's definitely been more than 10. But this year, with the change of audit methodology, we definitely looked at certain things differently than we ever have.
And are those changes that you made from a firm standpoint, or were those GFOA changes?
No, so we were acquired by Forvis Mazars, which is a top 10 national firm. So last year we did the audit under Forvis Mazars, but we were a transition year, so it was really done under our old MSL methodology. So this was the first year going into Forvis Mazars audit methodology. So a large firm, they have a more standard, proprietary audit methodology that is theirs, where under MSL it was more of it was our own methodology, but it was kind of using some industry standards.
Okay. And it probably wasn't under the scope of your review, but did you look at our financials from a standpoint of Amendment 3 and what might happen in November, or was that outside the scope?
That would certainly be outside the scope. I mean, because we're focusing on, basically we're always a year behind, so we're looking at, data from 9/30/2025. So there is a standard out there related to uncertainties that require disclosures, but it's still kind of within a one-year window, since really the impact wouldn't be till 27 if it passes. It doesn't meet the standard why it would have any disclosure requirements. I mean, certainly, with our, being, auditing as many municipalities in the state, it's a common conversation we're having with our clients, and what that analysis is, and certainly will be available for more discussion as we get closer.
Okay. I would hope that we would look to you for some of our resources. And this is probably more for Les, but Les, do we plan on submitting this to GFOA for a certificate?
Yes, we submitted this on June 29th for submission. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Do you know when we'll hear from them?
Usually it takes 3 or 4 months, usually.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
We did submit, yes.
Very good. All right, thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay,
Thank you.
Commissioner DeGard, questions?
Thank you. I just want to be clear on the business-like enterprises. That's what we call enterprise funds.
Yep.
Is that consistent? Is that what's in there?
Yes, yeah, your enterprise funds would make up your business-type
Okay,
activities.
just wanted to be sure
Yep.
we had a clear understanding of what that column was. I know that we're dealing with a backward-looking system, but were we seeing any velocity or deceleration in the velocity of revenue because of softening of the market inside this audit?
I think interest income was a little bit lower than budgeted this year, but I don't recall. I mean, certainly property tax numbers were up. I think sales tax were consistent, if I recall.
I believe they're up, but I believe they're up by a lesser amount, and that's what I'm trying to demonstrate here, that the velocity of property taxes and sales taxes has diminished, and I don't know if that's just in this current year as opposed to the last year, which is what you're auditing.
I don't know, I probably recommend looking at the management discussion and analysis in the ACFR. That does a really good description of the changes in the current year. I don't have it off the top of my head, but you know, that's where I always recommend that. That does a really good full analysis of your significant revenue streams and looking at it, comparing it to last year.
And I'll add to that the MDA talks about this a little bit too. You know, if you look at the MDA, it references that sales taxes was flat in 24 to 25. Our sales tax has been relatively flat the last 2 or 3 years. We had 2 significant great years in 21, 22 of sales tax growth, and then the last 3 years have been fairly flat the last 3. So that's been kind of a consistent trend. Just wanted to mention that, and that's mentioned in the MDA.
Okay, all right. No more questions, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, so Jeff, I guess my only question really is, and I know you've answered this before. We've been with you guys for 10 years, or over 10 years. And obviously, you know, this school of thought of changing your audit company because it gets too friendly, right? And then maybe there's some biases there. Respond to that, because I know you've given me a decent answer in the past.
Sure, yeah. I mean, certainly over the last 10 years, we've had 3 different partners. So we've rotated, so you're always having someone different that you may have seen me more than 5 years, because I probably wasn't maybe a partner always on the engagement, but we do always rotate. And certainly, I mean, the standards really, I mean, we have to be independent. That's what, as a CPA, as a professional, that's what we stand on, is our independence. So, you know, that idea that we would get too friendly is it's just not part of our profession. And then again, I mentioning again the change in the audit methodology. I really think that gives you the comfort of, and we brought in outside quality control partners on these engagements as well. So we had people from out of state that's never looked at the city of Dunedin, reviewing the financial statements as well, reviewing the single audit work. So I think that provides that fresh perspective, but also, not necessarily creating the burden of staff, of dealing with new auditors.
Okay, great. Okay, sounds good. I'm going to open it to public input. Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this issue? Okay, seeing nobody rushing to talk about the audit. Okay, I will close public input and ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Okay, so then I will go to commission final comments. Maker of the motion, Commissioner Gao.
Thank you, Jeff, for the time that you took. Accounting is not sexy. Financial reports aren't sexy. And the best you can get out of all your work is, yeah, it was a clean audit. So I know it doesn't stand out, especially from the public perspective, on the labels you use, but it doesn't take away from the value of what you do and the importance of what you do. And the fact of the time, the energy, and the passion, and then that staff works on this is just truly amazing. And so thank you for your time. Les, thank you and your entire staff for what you do. This is impressive, so thank you.
Okay, final comments, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jeff, again, for your very in-depth look and providing the due diligence that's required of this. And Les, great work. I was going to say something along the lines of Commissioner Gao. This may, on the surface, seem, just a tad boring, but, having been involved with audits before, boring is good. But a great job to y'all for another good year. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner DeGarden, final comments.
It has been said that the role of the auditor is to come through the battlefield after the battle's been fought and bayonet the wounded. That's what's been said about auditors. And I don't really want to put you in that category, but it is somewhat of what we do. And we come in and we question and we examine everything. And that's an important role for us. It's important to know that our compass is in the right direction, and it confirms that. And I appreciate Les's work, his team's work, and I appreciate your work. Thank you very much.
Well, I mean, how can I top all these great comments except to say, we got an unmodified opinion. How dull does that sound? But it's the highest we can get, so that's exciting. So we'll get excited about it. No, but just thank you, Jeff, to you and your company. Thank you, Les, to the great work you and your team do. And Jennifer. So good job. So this is good news, and I will be interested, I will say, as you guys look at the impacts of Amendment 3, how that does impact us from an audit standpoint. Okay, voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And motion passes unanimously.
And I am not going to ask what a modified opinion is.
And hope we never know.
Okay, do we want to take a 5-minute break, or you want to keep going? Yeah, I know, well, I've already blown mine, so, yeah. So,
I bet
5
they had to
minutes?
get
Okay, we're going to do 5 minutes till 5. They grow to 10 sometimes, but no more than that.
I got a lot of
Okay,
questions,
we're
and I'm
gonna
going to talk
restart the
very
meeting.
slowly.
I do think it got elongated because we were also interested in art. I'll just say that, but okay, so. 3E, letter of agreement between the City of Dunedin and 968 Douglas Avenue LLC and Euro-American Investments of Pinellas LLC, outlining the terms and conditions associated with the delivery and construction activities for the Main Street Exchange and Douglas Avenue Parking Garage project. So I'm going to go and turn it over to Bob to get us going on this for staff presentation.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Bob Ironsmith, Economic Development Director. We got a little PowerPoint, too, that we want to share with you. We're just looking for them to get that up. But what we're looking at tonight is a letter of agreement with Mazdas Holdings. This is to facilitate the construction deliveries relative to building the parking garage on Douglas, as well as the Main Street Exchange. We got a full team here tonight, thanks to Jen Cowan for preparing the letter of agreement. And we also have Hawkins to my right, which is the contractor. And of course, I have Matt Jackson to my left. And we also have Clay and Jorge, who also been a part of it. But what the role here was to facilitate and protect and ensure that, you can go ahead and click, that the merchants have the ability to make sure that their deliveries are good, and then also to make sure that they always have property access. This is a rendering of the property garage that we're talking about tonight, and then, of course, we have the next one, which is the rendering of the Main Street Exchange. This is the boutique hotel, restaurant, and retail right there across from kind of the trail. But really what we're looking at today is we want to go into some detail. And we also have the owner too, excuse me for a second, which is Bill Mazdas. Mr. Mazdas is in Greece, but he's going to be coming in and he's hearing this via Zoom or whatever we're using. 6-hour time delay for him. So
what time is it there?
It's for him, it's probably
You don't
about
even
2 o'clock
wanna ask.
a.m. Yeah. So
Well,
he's,
Bill, we're impressed. We appreciate that.
he's got some caffeine going for sure. So, yeah, we want to keep going. But the letter agreement kind of covers the construction deliveries, again, ensuring the merchants always have property access, their deliveries, coordination, but also ensures that the public infrastructure, the right-of-way that they're going to be utilizing in the city, which is Douglas Avenue, that any type of damage gets replaced and repaired. As I mentioned just previously, the development team really is Mazdas, manufacturers Metromont. This is on the precast material. Hawkins, who's to my right, Dave and Todd, they're the builders of it, and they're going to go into some detail what's going to take place. And then for the new line transport, we got the dedicated precast carrier. These trucks are over 100 or 100 feet long, so that's why it's complicated in order to get these trucks into a tight little downtown area. The project management, I'm going to have, Bill, you with us? I'm going to have you talk about it a little bit. Okay, great. Bill can take this slide. He's doing an awful lot to be proactive here.
Well, thank you, Bob. Thank you. And good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Madam City Manager, staff, and everyone present. Construction on the scale of what we're planning over the next couple of years doesn't come without some sort of real disruption. We've had to put a lot of thought into, how these projects are going to get built and how they're going to get executed. That's why we want to be good stewards and we want to be good neighbors. We totally understand that, there's a lot to the process. I want to walk you through a little bit what we've done, what we're going to do, and then I want Hawkins to explain a little bit about, how this delivery is going to take place and how the precast is going to be erected. So on May 26th, we've held an open house explaining the project, what was going to take place. We invited all of the property owners and business owners in the vicinity around from north of Main Street, south of Skinner on Douglas Avenue. We had a few people that showed up. But after discussions with the city, we've decided that it makes a lot of sense for us to do a second open house. We've gone out, hand-delivered invitations to everybody. We believe that it's set for October 11th at 2 p.m., and we believe we're going to have a pretty good turnout for that. Okay, the other thing that we've done is we've built a dedicated project website. I feel that it's really important to let the citizens know what's about to take place. And, you know, it's kind of hard to convey that sometimes. So we went ahead and we prepared a website. We did a pretty good job, I think, of explaining the delivery schedule, the lane closures, and the detours that, you know, the community should take. It's going to stay updated throughout the entire construction period. We're going to be coordinating everything together with the city's communication team, and we want to be sure that we don't confuse the community, that, you know, one message comes out. So the commitment behind this is really simple. We're not trying to hide this. We want everybody to be inclusive of what's happening and for everyone to know what to expect. So with that being said, I want to introduce our builders. You know, when we were going through the process of trying to find a general contractor for this project, we knew that it wasn't going to be easy, okay? This is, you know, the middle of a downtown next to operating businesses, and we know the entire community is going to be watching. So it takes more than just technical ability. We wanted to be sure that we had a team whose core philosophies are the same as ours. Okay, you have to treat your neighbors as you would like to be treated. So, and Hawkins is that team. That's why tonight with us we have Todd Mullins, who's the Senior Vice President of Hawkins, along with Dave Skinner, who's the project executive for our project, the Douglas Parking Center. And I'd like to have them take over and kind of walk through a little bit the next steps and what the city and the residents can expect, you know, for this project. All right.
Thanks, Bill.
Todd, Dave, you guys want to get ready?
Great.
Sure. Todd Mullins, Senior Vice President and Partner at Hawkins Construction. Pleasure to be here in front of all of y'all tonight. It's been great working with Bill and his team, with Jennifer and her team, and we've had DOT, county. There's been a lot of collaboration to get to where we're at this evening, to be able to sit down and show you what the plan is. And it's all about over-communication. To Bill's comment regarding transparency and the fact that he put this website up for the local folks, they're going to see a lot of stuff that they haven't seen before when the precast comes to site. It's in a very, very tight corridor that we've got to get it into. The panels are very large, and we'll probably have a lot of sightseers out there. It'll probably be on the news if I had to guess on how we're getting this in here. But one thing stands, Hawkins, Mazis Development, we're here to collaborate. We're here to take care of the locals and make sure that everybody has an open communication with what we have going on. I think we've probably spent more time so far on this project communicating with the local businesses, assisting them with helping them understand what to expect, so you don't have as many phone calls to deal with on a regular basis. And with that said, David Skinner is our project executive that is heading up the project, and I'm going to turn it over to him and allow him to dive into the detail of what the plan is and show you some of the exhibits that we have brought forward today.
So again, David Skinner, project executive involved directly in this project. And thank you for having us here to share our plan with you, and we welcome your comments and you know, our safety, our priority number one is that this is a safe project, not only for the workers on site, but the community. And, you know, when you start to get 100-foot long trucks coming from Bartow delivering precast to erect on site with a 300-ton crane, you know, it's kind of like building Legos, only it's, or Lincoln Logs, but maybe a little different. So obviously safety is our primary concern, and how the product gets to the site safely and with minimal impact to the community and the local businesses. So as Bill has said, we We've reached out to the community and we're welcoming their comments. We'll continue to do that through the website and sharing information with them and making sure that we're considering the impact that the construction might be having on them. So if we can go to the delivery route.
I know, Bill, can you minimize yours? I'm not sure, so Bill's are just on the screen, so we want to be able to, enlarge what we have. There we go. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you.
So a considerable amount of time was put into planning the route, and it changed a few times, but this is the route that we've come up with, which would be coming north on US 19, going west on Sunset Point, and then north on Keene Road, a lot of turns, but we've actually done a trial run, and this was deemed by the transport company as the best route to get the product to the project. And then taking a left or going west on Union, and then ultimately going north on Douglas. And if we go to the next slide, now this is the primary route. We've also discussed an alternate route, which would involve coming Curlew, so from 19 to Curlew, and then alternate 19, and then making a left-hand turn on Douglas, and then on Skinner, and then a right-hand turn on Douglas. And that is a viable route as well, but the primary route was deemed the best option that we have. So to get into a little bit of discussion on schedule. So the first thing that we will be beginning, and I have to reiterate, these are tentative dates. I mean, obviously, everything that we're doing right now is affected by weather. But this is the plan as it is right now. On or about August 24th, we're going to begin delivering the crane to the site. It's coming in about anywhere from 12 to 15 tractor-trailer loads of components to assemble the crane. The good thing in this situation is that there's room on site for the trucks to actually pull into the site without any lane closures or road closures on Douglas Avenue. So they'll pull in and then leave the site. The only thing that we will have in place at that point are flagmen directing the trucks coming in and out of the project. There will not be a lane closure or a road closure. On August 31st is when we plan to begin precast erection. That's when the precast trucks will begin to be delivered. And again, as we start construction, and for the first 2/3 of the construction, we'll be able to actually pull those trucks into the site and offload those with the crane, and then the trucks will exit at the other exit or the entrance into the project. And for the period, approximately 30 working days, from August 31st to October 9th, there will not be any lane restrictions or road closures in the performance of that work, other than flagmen directing the trucks coming in and out. Then when we get to the point, the last third, which is the section of the building closest to Douglas Avenue, will no longer be able to construct without a lane closure on Douglas. So at that point, we have a maintenance of traffic plan that's been reviewed and approved, which would have a single lane closure for that 10 to 15 day work activity to erect that last section of the precast closest to Douglas Avenue. And again, that's a 10 to 15 working day activity. And then ultimately, once the erection is complete, the crane has to be dismantled. And unlike when we erect the crane or build the crane, we're not going to have the ability to do that on site. So that's going to have to utilize Douglas Avenue to lay the crane down over its full length and begin the disassembly with the number of tractor-trailer loads that I mentioned earlier. That will involve a full road closure, and we have the maintenance of traffic plans that have been reviewed and approved as well for that. So right now, and that activity is scheduled to take place on a Monday and Tuesday after the, I guess it's the art festival here in Dunedin, or it was coordinated with that to make sure that, again, we're minimizing.
Is that Oktoberfest?
I'm sorry?
Is it Oktoberfest, one of the things we worked around?
Yeah.
Yeah, we worked around it all, and we also, really per the city manager, we wanted to go with the slow days. Monday and Tuesday are typically our slow days downtown, so.
So, and I think the website had, and if you go to the next slide, I mean, this actually shows the slide on the left shows the single lane closure over the period that I spoke of, and then the double lane closure. And I want to point out the limits of the road closure, because I think there was some confusion in the community about shutting off people's ability to get to their business and their customers getting to those businesses. When in fact, the signage depicting the closure will be at Main Street for the detour that will take people around for through traffic, and then also up at Skinner Boulevard. But the actual closure only begins at the south side of the entrance into the veterinarian business, and on the north side of, and there's two entrances into the Douglas garage, or the Dunedin garage. We would be leaving open the south entrance into that facility, and we have met with them to go over these plans. So I think once they realized that we weren't closing off their business for a couple of days, they were much more pleased with that plan, understanding that there still is going to be some inconvenience, and we recognize that. But a tremendous amount of thought went into these logistic plans to, again, minimize the disruption to the community. So the specific maintenance of traffic plan indicates that there will be no construction activity after 5 o'clock p.m. or starting before 7 o'clock a.m. Precast deliveries will conclude at 3 o'clock. Now, and that's when we would restore the barriers, so that when we're doing the single lane closure, we're going to bring the barricades back in so that after 5 o'clock, there'll be access for both lanes on Douglas Avenue. And obviously, communication, you can't over-communicate. So that'll be on the website, as well as us meeting in person with the local businesses that would be affected by those closures. The maintenance of traffic plan indicates the message boards and the signage that is appropriate for those closures. Again, notification for the closures and the inconvenience that will be associated with those. And again, access to the adjacent properties will be maintained at all times.
Well, I think the other part of this, through all of the iterations and options that we've come up with, we've been able to get the lane closure. The one lane closure is only for the 3 weeks at the tail end of the erection of the garage. And it's only during the day from 7 to 5, because the barricades get pulled in at 5 each day. You have traffic access both ways after 5 o'clock till 7 o'clock the next morning. And then we only have a 2-day window when we have to dismantle the crane at the end of the project that would have both lanes down. Other than that, we've been able to keep it essentially all on site, with the exception of we're going to have very large vehicles coming right through the middle of town. So, but as quick as we can get it up, then we don't have to worry about it. And when those trucks, when they come in, are 100-foot long, but then they're going to collapse back down, because they're collapsible trailers, and once you have the precast off of them, they shrink back down to a regular semi-size or smaller, and then they're able to exit back out without any issues. So it's just getting the precast there to start with.
Yeah, I mean, the things I want to emphasize is it's been a very thoughtful approach, very proactive by Bill Mazas, his team, Hawkins. You know, we really want to get this thing done before the busy season comes. So right now they're on schedule to get this done toward the end of October, which really makes us happy. But there's been a lot of thought on it. Jen Cowan's done quite a bit with the letter of agreement and working with his attorney, Brian Onyx, to ensure that there's protection in there. There's going to be a bond on the infrastructure or some type of tool. Everything has really been done in a very thoughtful way, so I can't say enough about Bill Mazas and his team. A lot of insight. In fact, his son, who's here, is Alex, has gone and met with all the businesses to get them to come to the open house, so everybody was notified on that date, on May 26th, and of course, the next one coming up on August 11th. So, and you got to recognize his office is here, so he's not going anywhere. His office is right there behind Pioneer Park on Virginia. So, awful lot of thought, a lot of insight, proactive approach. Yes, it is a major project. Yes, there's going to be some inconvenience, but the property owners are going to have their access. They're going to have the ability for the deliveries. His project management page he's done is just really superb. Super Ness is taking a look at that from a communication perspective, so we're working very closely along those lines too. So I think at this point, we really want to answer any questions that you might have of the Mazas team or Hawkins or staff.
Okay, we'll go to questions. I think it's my time to start over here. Commissioner Gao.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, thank you guys for how open you are. Bill, thank you. I've heard nothing but positive comments from the residents on if they have any type of issue, how willing everybody is to meet with them. Any accommodations that can be made are made, and so it's just thank you for being that kind of partner. When it comes to the schedule, and I know that it's construction and things come up, but as far as we know, what are some of the things that will change these dates?
Rain and hurricanes.
Right, okay, so weather related.
Not allowed to say hurricanes in this
Other
room,
than that,
so.
right, yeah.
I understand, Mayor.
Say it.
The good thing is the precast is 100% fabricated, ready to come to the job. We're not,
Right.
having, 100 concrete trucks coming into the site every day to pour concrete. So
Right.
there is an advantage there, albeit there's a lot of coordination with just getting the material there. But that's a benefit in the overall schedule because you're not dealing with the variables that you would deal with doing concrete cast in place.
And we had to, procurement-wise, we did get out ahead of it, so we wouldn't, once we started, we didn't want to run into where you're seeing this half-built building standing for any length of period of time. You want to see the constant completion of the project ongoing and not just getting part of the way done and then it looks like nothing's happening. So we had everything lined out from a procurement standpoint, especially with some of the supply chain issues that we're continuing to see in the construction side. We want to make sure everything would be available when we needed it so we didn't have any of those delays occur. So once we started, we could push through.
Right, and in the schedule, and that's reflected in the schedule. Sounds like you guys just really have it down pat. But my question is if there are delays, what does that communication look like? And who is that communication going to be to? Is it just the city? Is it the city? Or is it the businesses and the city doesn't know? Just tell me about that communication skill.
I mean, I would say all the above. The website is a powerful tool for communicating that. The community is aware of it. We'll keep that updated with schedules, just as, I mean, if you'd like to refer to it, it's DouglasParkingCenter.com. It's a tremendous website that gives the overview of everything we've spoken about this evening. But we will keep that updated as the project, continues or progresses with updated schedules and so on and so forth. So.
Okay, I seriously doubt anybody's going to go to the website.
Okay.
Which would be a concern of mine. What will happen is on the day you're supposed to be there and you're not, they're going to jump on Facebook. And so it's incredibly important that you communicate to the city.
Understood.
As quickly as you can, so at least we're aware. And we can help you get the message out if necessary. But Facebook we all know, right?
Sure. Yes.
And that's what they'll do. And I know that there are a couple of businesses on Douglas that will be impacted, and they have events coming up. And it looks like right now, the timetable, the timeline looks like everything is good. I did just check with Woodwright, and their Oktoberfest is actually in September. So that looks good. I haven't I haven't
Yeah.
heard from Grant. I don't know that we've reached out to Grant.
We have.
Okay.
We have reached out to Grant, and in fact, he has, I think, one of your phone numbers there at Hawkins, so he's on a first-name basis with them. He's been very proactive, and he's been very good to work with, so he's comfortable.
Yeah, I talked to Grant. Grant is very happy with you guys, very happy.
Yeah,
I
very
would imagine
proactive.
he would be,
Yeah.
but
He
certainly
feels
if
like
it
they've
disrupts,
fallen all over.
even though the end result is good, if it disrupts business today, they
Well,
get
a lot of it has to do with establishing expectations. You know, trying to explain what it is, kind of like Dave was talking about Lincoln Logs. Like, this is what you're going to see. This is how it's going to impact you. We're going to try to keep it to a minimum. Will you be impacted? Yes. But we're here too. If you've got a problem, you can come talk to us. We're wide open. You can come see us anytime. And Eric Brooks, who is our site superintendent on site, is an excellent communicator with anybody around site and also on site, and spends a lot of time doing that. Like I said, we've spent as much time communicating with the surrounding neighbors as much as anything, because the project could be perfect. If we can't keep these folks happy and informed, it won't be happy for long. So.
And again, I can't speak more about your communication. I've heard stories of somebody had an issue with where the porta potties were on site, and they were moved within a day, and really quickly. So they were like, wow, this is amazing. I do have one request. Sorry, Mary, this isn't a question, but a request. I'll call her a friend, my boss. Lives in the Artisan, which is the project just south of the garage. She lives on the second floor facing north. So she is looking at that project. And she would like to know if there's going to be any time-lapse photography, or are you already planning on anything, because she works during the day and she thinks that'll be cool to see it go up.
There are cameras that have time-lapse capability. There's one at the south and north end, at each end of the project, that'll provide exactly what you mentioned there. That I think the owner would be happy to share that.
Put it on the website or something.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. See you there, Julie? All right. Very good. All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Got to keep your boss happy. Okay, Commissioner DeGard, questions?
Did I hear 15 trucks, 100 feet long? Is that what I heard?
There are more than that. I mean, there are approximately 360 panels that have to be sent to the job in the form of double Ts and columns and spandrel panels, so on and so forth. And
So how many trucks are we going to?
I believe the number of deliveries would be between 8 and 10. The plan is to erect between 10 and 12 panels a day.
Okay.
So they will feed the project with panels sufficient for that day. And then, if they begin early the next morning, they would probably bring excess into the site to have those ready to erect at 7 a.m. rather than having to fight through traffic to get a truck there that early.
And so your both lane closure period is for how long again?
2 days.
2 days. That's amazing.
And the good thing about that, too, is they break the crane down. We should be able to move the barricades back. As you know, you can imagine a crane being as large as it is, when they lay it down, that's why we require those limits, as I had shared before. But as they break that down and start to remove the boom sections from the crane, we'll be able to move those barricades in closer.
Okay. That sounds very reasonable. I'm impressed with your planning. And, but you understand that the definition of combat is every plan is good up until contact with the enemy. And the enemy is weather, and if somebody just has a problem on the route with a tire or something like that, your courage is admirable. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Vice Mayor, questions?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to just ask a little bit about the schedule. I think you said the only thing that would impact it would be the weather. So there's nothing in the development and the construction process that could potentially result in a schedule slip?
I mean, you don't know what you don't know, but, you know, we believe that the construction documents are accurate, and, you know, we're planning with what's necessary to make sure that we're tracking the materials so that there's no material delays, so that we're communicating and coordinating with Duke Energy to get power on site when we need it, and we're procuring the long lead items to make sure that they're available. Those in construction, unfortunately, a lot of times cause delays if you don't have a track on the approval processes to get material and then ultimately the lead times associated with those materials. So we are doing the best that we can at this time and making sure that the material is going to be available when we need it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I mean, you know, the face value, the schedule looks good, and the reason that it is good is because for the most part, the lane closures are happening on less impactful days, and they're not happening during events. So that goes back to, you know, what if? And because, you know, in terms of the construction of this, you know, time is money. And I think, again, what I'm doing now is I'm expressing the concern by the businesses that have been voiced to me. And I think that, again, if we're, you know, apparently the communication has been good, but the communication needs to continue to be good because there is concern about the impact. And so questions on the communication, I mean, what specific things have you done to communicate this with the businesses that are impacted?
Well, the meetings that we've had and the upcoming meeting on the, is it the 11th? Is the next
August
meeting.
11th.
So we've handed out flyers and Alex has physically gone door to door to these businesses and inviting them to attend so that we can continue to communicate. And I'm sure this won't be the last. We'll have probably several of those type of meetings to make sure that there's an awareness within the community.
Well, and I think I probably know the answer to this, but one of the most impacted businesses is Dunedin Brewery. Have you talked to them?
Yeah, my understanding, you know, I know Bill's still on the call. I believe Hawkins went in there to deal with the owner directly relative to the schedule. So I believe that took place. I don't know if Bill is still there.
Yeah, Dave, you had communications, didn't you?
Yes, it was, so he had expressed a concern because of some of the information that had been relayed to them that their business was going to be completely shut down without access. And once I clarified that they would still have access to their business coming from the south on Douglas Avenue, he was fully satisfied and sent that in an email and thanked us for clarifying that.
Okay, and I appreciate that too, because, you know, in my response, and this goes back to the way that this whole project is coming to fruition, is because of the engagement of all the stakeholders in the process here. So, and I also have said that having been through a large part of that process, I am very confident that the stakeholders are going to continue to be accommodating and cooperative with the businesses. And in my mind, there's no question of that. But this goes back to the communication piece of it. I really believe that it's going to be very important that the communication doesn't start when that piece of it where the big things start going into the very tight space.
We'll probably be communicating even more at that point, because there's going to be, that's when everybody that didn't know what was going on sees it. And then it's going to be like, what is that? What are they putting wind turbines in Dunedin, you know? Because they will be as long as the blades of a wind turbine.
Oh, believe me, I'm looking forward to this. I mean, I want to see that. But I don't want it to impact our businesses. So anyway, no, that's all I've got, Mayor.
If I may, Mayor?
Sure.
I've also spoken to the owner of Dunedin Brewery as well. We've emailed back and forth, and he has my cell phone number, and so after he received the plan and understood what the MOT is and the closures, and he was fine. So
Okay, no, I'm, okay, this is, you know, I'm good. Thanks.
And I have no doubt the emails we'll get is, you're ruining our town with overdevelopment. I have no doubt, but anyway.
No, it'll be on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be on Facebook. First of all, I was going to say, Bill, we don't have to work too hard to guess who in the room is your son. I'll tell you what, you guys are spitting images of each other. So, first of all, David, you made a comment that made me kind of curious on, let me pull this up again. So, and I think you said it about phase 3, precast delivery and erection, and it says 10 working days, and you kept using the phrase 10 to 15 working days. So I'm kind of curious, like.
It's based on piece count and getting the precast to the project, but again, they're estimating between 10 and 12 panels a day, so that is an estimation. I mean, it's hard to make it an exact science,
Right.
but we are looking at that last third of the project at that time when it would be a single lane closure and estimating that to be between a 10 and 15 working day activity.
Yeah, and I only say that because I have no idea when our Halloween events, but if that starts to get pushed over towards the Halloween events, that's when you start to get into issues. So, you know, so I just caution you with that, because I don't know what you do. So let's just say that you push long and all of a sudden the full closure day, you can't be a Friday and Saturday because it's going to be a Halloween event. What would you do? Just hold it up until Monday, Tuesday? Because
Yes.
again, time's money, but.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and so you're not using the roundabouts for anything? That's set aside now?
We would have had to deconstruct the roundabouts.
Okay, good. I
and
didn't want anybody
reconstruct the
messing, I
roundabouts.
couldn't even picture it, so.
No,
okay.
if it would have been before the roundabouts, we'd have been all okay.
You would have
but
been,
now-
you would have been,
Actually,
yeah.
the roundabout at Douglas and Skinner is feasible, and it's built so that buses actually can drive up on that.
Right, but you're not doing that.
The problem comes in with the median that's at the intersection of Skinner and Douglas as well. When you actually turn right on Douglas, we would have to build something over that or fill it, remove the soil and fill it with crushed stone or another material so that the back wheels of the trailer could actually drive up over that.
At the bottom-
But again, with the LOA, anything that would be disturbed, that is an alternate route in the event something happens on the primary route, but we would fully restore that median as it currently is.
I would try to avoid it at all costs.
Understood.
Yeah, and that, so in and out would be the other way. I mean, if everything goes okay. 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 Let's see, Bob, Jennifer, maybe this is for you. I mean, are we able to do do the link to the douglasparkingcenter.com through so if they go on our website, they can actually have a link to go to that website for part of the update? I think
We typically, actually, we just put our own projects on our website.
yeah,
when
I'm
we're
just
under
thinking this could
construction,
be a
so-
really good reason for an exception. It's
Let me
so-
chat with Sue about that.
Okay,
Sue
I just
Burness
think
about that.
if anything would kind of, and when you start getting into Main Street Exchange, wow, be kind of nice for people to see exactly what's going on.
Let me chat with her.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just going to be saying, oh, go to this, but it won't link over, which kind of would seem silly, but you're saying we don't put them on at all.
Right.
I think it's such a big project for the city, it would just seem like, yeah, I can't, yeah, okay, you let us know, but
To see the trucks, it's going to be.
yeah, I just think if there's ever a reason to do something a little different, so.
So you can tell that the directors are watching even though they're not sitting here. So Sue said we created a project page.
There you go. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Sue. You're on top of it. That is.
I wasn't going to read it, but then when I saw that.
That is no surprise. I know.
None of us
Gotta
did.
love our Sue. She's the best.
She says it's up now, and everybody have a good night, so.
Okay. Okay, good. And this question is clearly for Bill. Bill, and when are you coming to us about rezoning to downtown core? So
Next week.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, is it?
Oh,
And
it's,
then next week.
Yeah,
working on it.
it's in process already.
I love
Already went to
that. That
LPA,
is-
and,
that
you know,
makes me
Bill is
very-
committed to having a retail, so frankly,
That makes me
not only
happy.
is Bill making a tremendous investment, where all the property values are going to go up, there's also going to be activity there with the retail shops. And those
I-
people will go to the
I
different
think-
businesses there.
I think it's awesome. There's going to be some pain here, but I think.
There will be a little bit of pain,
It's
yes.
going to be good when it's done. Okay, no other questions. I'm going to open it to public input. Anyone in the audience wish to come forward and speak on this issue? Name and address for the record.
Nan Bennett, 1990 Saddle Hill Road North, Dunedin, Florida. And I have a little bit of experience with this type of building, and I may have missed it. First of all, I want to commend you. You've done a lot of pre-planning, and it's very good, a lot of the things you've done, and you've identified the variables you can't control, namely weather.
If you have questions, Nan, tell them to us, because we'll do them after you're done,
Okay.
and then we'll do them when everybody else has talked. if
I
anybody
may
else-
have missed it. I did read through all of the documentation twice, but I didn't see in the letter of agreement an actual hurricane plan, such as the city puts in all of their construction plans and everything. My concern is basically if we have a hurricane at us, that time during construction when the crane is up and the building is partially constructed is when it's most vulnerable. And so what is the plan? I mean, would the crane be dropped if we had a hurricane bearing right down on us because there was a problem during Milton of a construction crane falling in St. Petersburg? And how would the building and the crane be secured if the worst thing happened? It's, you know, you've got to have a plan, and then you can see what you're going to do about it. That's all I have to say.
Okay, great. Anyone else in the audience wish to come forward, speak on this issue? Okay, so on that note, we'll turn to you gentlemen about the hurricane plan, crane securance, building securance, how that would
So we have
all.
very specific hurricane preparedness plans, and of course, that would involve, you know, on the forecast of a hurricane coming in, we have, you know, days before we start that preparation. Certainly lowering the crane or laying it down would be of primary concern so that doesn't, you know, create an additional problem. But yeah, we would, you know, screening or fencing with screening on it is usually not a good thing. That's one of the common problems that we have when you have winds of that sort, where you end up having fence panels on somebody else's property or vehicles or business or whatever. So, but we absolutely have hurricane preparation plans, and we will implement those on the forecast and then following the event and making sure that things are safe.
And it's kind of a loaded question because depending on the timing of such said storm and where we're at in the construction will affect what that plan may be. But do we have contingency plans? Yes. Do we know what, depending on what the forecast is, and that's is it a tropical storm? Is it a Cat 1? Is it a Cat 2? All that plays into the decision making based on where we're at in construction, what equipment's on site, and to what Dave said, one of the first things we do is we pull all the windscreen off a fence because as soon as the wind catches it, it's gone. And it doesn't matter if it's in the ground or on stands, it's going to fly away. So that's one of the first things that we do. But we secure everything on site. We don't want stuff flying around because it doesn't do anything but damage things around us. But that we can also communicate that. You know, it goes back to the communication aspect of it. We can communicate with staff here. It can be posted. It can be communicated with the locals and let them know, hey, here's what to expect if you should get some phone calls about it. But we'll have a written plan in place at that point.
And did that kind of cover it for you?
It's going to come down to dollars and cents. It's
Okay.
going to cost them a lot of money if they have to drop the crane. It's not in your letter of agreement.
Okay. Are you concerned that it should be somehow in the letter of agreement? City Attorney?
I mean, it's entirely up to you. It can be added, but it's also something where, you know, they have they likely have some sort of encouragement to have the crane come down too, because I assume that if it doesn't and it's damaged, there's
liability
liability
issue.
on their hand as well. So,
I would also add, if I may, Mayor, that the building division is also active in, once we go under tropical storm warning or Cat 1, Cat 2, the building division is active as far as construction sites, active construction sites, what's on the site and what it is that the contractor needs to either remove or take down and that type of a thing. So, and I think that, to put some sort of performance in the agreement, you take it down if it's, depending on the strength of the storm. I don't know if we can do that because it is a moving target. I think it's a very good point, though, and it's something that we'll certainly discuss with them through the building permit process.
Well, and to the concern regarding the crane and the reference to the crane that came down in St. Pete, that was a tower crane. We're going to have a tower crawler out here. We're not, the type of crane we're using is not the same type of crane that collapsed in St. Pete. It's a completely different type of crane, and it will not collapse the way that crane collapsed. But nonetheless, again, when it comes to a dollars and cents standpoint, we don't look at it that way. It's a liability. If that crane comes down, we would much rather bring the crane down and pay to dismantle it if we partially dismantle if we need to, whatever needs to be done, versus leaving it up there and running the risk of it damaging neighboring parties or hurting somebody. So it's a lot better for us if we just go ahead and get out ahead of it and take the precautions. And I know that Bill would feel the same way.
Okay, so unless there's any additional questions from my colleagues?
I've got a couple.
Okay, go ahead, sure.
Bob, can you show the route again?
Sure.
And this is just more, I'm curious.
Yep.
That you're turning right from Sunset Point to Keene, and wondering why you chose that route to Union as opposed to going straight down Sunset Point to Douglas. It takes 2 turns off the route.
Yeah, my understanding, let them talk, my understanding is Sunset's very narrow, very tight in there, and there was the concern they couldn't get the truck there with the mailboxes and all the different things, but I know
And there are signs that post no trucks allowed on Sunset where it turns into a 2-lane road versus a 4-lane road.
Okay.
And that was one of the primary drivers. And it does get very narrow with mailboxes right up against
Yeah,
it.
they said they couldn't make the swing from Sunset onto Douglas North.
That right turn.
They couldn't swing, so that's why they put the extra turns in, because they could make the swing with it being 4 lanes down at Keene.
And that makes sense, that makes sense. And the upcoming meetings you're going to have, are you going to be taking attendance, or will we know what businesses are there, or more importantly, not there?
Yeah.
So if they have any complaints,
Yeah,
You can go, "Hey."
I'm sure Alex, who's here, they'll have a sign-up sheet, and then we're also going to have some staff there at that meeting also to
Okay.
ensure that. Yeah, the first time, there was a couple of businesses that didn't show that actually had the most active interest, and we would like them to be there. So,
there we go. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
And just the last line on the schedule is anticipated precast completion. What a day to celebrate. What happens the next day? What does that mean from a resident standpoint?
That means the crane
it
goes
open for
away,
business?
we're done. I mean, then we're, more working inside. We can do, fixturing, electrical work. It's still construction,
Yeah.
and that'll continue through May of '27-ish, but the overall completion, it just gets into a whole different phase of construction activity.
Okay, so we'll see it all go up in October, but you have to wait to May to pull in.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner DeGard, you have another question?
Yeah, I have one question for Bob, and it doesn't relate, you'll be glad to hear it doesn't relate to your construction. Is this the same construction we're considering for our garage?
I don't know at this point in time. We might be looking at some different options on that.
Okay.
But it's certainly a option, the
All right.
precast, yes.
All right, thank you, that's all.
Okay, any other? Okay, so I'm going to read the motion so we can be sure, because it's got more to it, before I ask for somebody to make the motion. Approve the letter of agreement between the City of Dunedin and 968 Douglas Avenue LLC and Euro American Investments of Pinellas LLC, outlining the terms and conditions associated with the delivery and construction activities for the Main Street Exchange and Douglas Avenue Parking Garage project, designating Jennifer K. Bramley, city manager, as the city's authorized designee to execute the reference letter of agreement. So can I have a motion to that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so final comments, and I will go to maker of the motion, Commissioner DeGard.
Well planned. Looks like you've taken every consideration. Your communications looks sound. And once again, you've proven yourself to be a good partner in the city. Thank you, Mayor.
Seconder of the motion, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, you guys, your forward-thinking and forethought on this has been very impressive. And again, the comments that we get back are always hedged with, I think that generally all of the businesses downtown core are excited about this because this is going to be a game changer. So your engagement with the community is noted, but keep it up.
Okay, Commissioner Gal, final comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just echoing my colleagues. Your planning, pre-planning has been fabulous. Your communication with the public has been great. Gives me a lot of confidence that the schedule will be adhered to, and at the end it'll be a nothing burger other than a parking garage, right? But as Commissioner Walker said, that yeah, you really need to keep the pedal down and keep that communication going, because our residents are passionate, and if you do it right, they'll give you a hug. You do it wrong, they'll be more than happy to kick you in the knee. We prefer not to have that happen. So, right, but thank you, Mayor.
I'd prefer it too.
More than anything, they'll just blister you on Facebook. Bill and team is how I'll put it. Great job. I mean, as people know, I've been around 40 years and been involved with the city of Dunedin for a lot of those years. And
Started when you were like 5.
I did. I started when I was 5. So I've seen a lot of projects come through. These are big projects. And it's very, very assuring to me, and I think to all of us, that you guys are taking every step of this in such an organized fashion, and the communication. And really, I've heard nothing but good. I mean, the people that have, your meetings, and then, having the cell phone, and just the accommodation that you've already done. So I have every reason to think, we can't control everything, but I think the way that you've organized yourself, I have a lot of faith that even if we get a few snafus, you'll figure them out and work with the community to make it all good. So I appreciate it. So on that note, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, and thank you very much, gentlemen, and thank you, Bill, and get some sleep.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Time to get up.
I had 9:16.
I'll just say I forgot this was on, because I should have known, because I blew it totally. Okay, we're going to go right to proposed agenda for September 3rd, 2026, commission meeting. Are there any additions or changes?
No changes, Mayor.
And better not be any additions. It's going to be a long night.
We've got one proclamation.
Okay. And we've got that second reading, everybody, of launching motorized watercraft. So come ready, be rested.
Can we limit agenda items to the number of pages?
Yeah, we could. But, okay, so with no additions or changes, can I have a motion to approve September 3rd agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously, 4-0. Okay, and now we go to proposed agenda for the September 1st commission, wait, I got to get off this one, commission workshop, which of course we do not approve, we just look at and see if it kind of feels good. This is Forward Pinellas update on Tri-County MPO merger, which I can tell you that'll be extremely exciting. Warning you. Legislative discussion, reviewing the 2026 session and looking ahead to 2027 session. So, okay.
We
so-
have an addition, Mayor.
Oh, we do, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Gladys Douglas Preserve Phase 2 development.
Oh, okay, well, that'll be good,
That's exciting.
good.
If I might, Mayor, I would like to remind you that I'll be flying over the Atlantic when you guys are meeting that day. And
okay.
hopefully one of you will make the motion to excuse
We
me.
will absolutely do that. Yeah, we're not going to try to get you from, the air. So, but I appreciate
Their
that.
Wi-Fi package and.
So,
Might irritate
You'll
everybody
have
on the plane, though.
As much success as the vice mayor did.
It might not work.
Jennifer, were you going to say something?
also, Mayor, on September 1st, my husband is having a procedure, and I need to Uber him home at some point that day. So if you don't mind, Jorge Quintas will be sitting up here. We'll be joining you on the dais, and please be as rough with him as you possibly
Oh,
can.
we absolutely will.
Our
You can be
pleasure.
guaranteed of that. so.
But also, I will sit down and go over the development plan with Tony Mulkey on Gladys Douglas.
Okay.
And get my comments in
beforehand.
there.
Okay, good. And again, that whole Phase 2, that's all required of us.
Yes, it is.
So
but-
that's not something that we
Yes,
can
CT,
put off because of
yes.
Amendment 3. That is
Correct.
something we have to do.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So commission discussion and comments. Vice Mayor, welcome back. We're glad you're
Well,
here.
I am happy to be back. Well, tomorrow is Purple Heart Recognition Day, and it starts at 10 o'clock. And the agenda and the program gets a little bigger every year, and this one's going to be amazing. So please join me tomorrow if you can. And I believe that's all I've got.
Commissioner Gao, any discussion or comments?
Yeah, just a reminder that I will not be in attendance tomorrow. So please send my regrets, and
I will do that.
I'm disappointed, but, got to pay a mortgage.
Gotta work, yeah.
And what time is it? Because I have two other comments that have 21 separate subcategories.
Oh, you're going for the time.
And so.
Yeah, there's a limit.
So you might, no, kidding. No, only two things. Just wanted to remind everybody, since we're not meeting before then, that the Bagpiping World Championships are on the 14th and the 15th. Preliminary rounds are I'm sorry, but am I boring you?
Not at all.
That the preliminary rounds are on Friday, and there is no doubt that the city band is confident that they will be moving on to Saturday. And Saturday are the finals, and they are broadcast. And so the SAS will be open to a watch party, but there is a time difference. And so the watch party starts at 5 a.m. So if you'd like to come at 5 a.m., a Bloody Mary at 5:05 is like amazing, and delicious food and Scotch eggs and all kinds of stuff are there. Now, as far as the streaming of the competition, they do only stream Arena 1, and the competition takes place at several arenas, and they will not know until after the Friday competitions on where they will be. And so there is no guarantee that we'll be able to see the city band compete, but we hope to do so. But even so, you'll get to hear some wonderfully amazing, world-renowned pipe bands competing. And so you'll get to hear some special treats. But the camaraderie should be good, the piping should be good, and mimosas and Bloody Marys for all. But anyway, so we'll see you there.
Love it. Oh, look at her being honest. Okay, Commissioner Dugard.
In the last few weeks, we've witnessed national news about water systems being compromised from a technological standpoint by foreign bad agents. I met with the manager earlier this week. We went over our system slightly, and she said it's a closed system. Ours can't be invaded by such systems. And that gave me great comfort to know that we've already anticipated that, and we made sure that our system is sound. Kudos to Nan, too. The nice thing is to know that government works for you, and it thinks about these things in advance. Where it doesn't work are those poor communities that are now having to boil their water. We won't have to do that here. And I think our staff needs a lot of credit, and our previous commissioners and mayors, for making sure that we think about these things all the time. It's an honor to sit up here with everyone. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I actually had that conversation too with the city manager, and I mean, I know it's, we always make sure, we really do work hard to make sure our enterprise funds, water, sewer, wastewater, stormwater are competitive, et cetera. But there's a lot of pressures, right? There's a lot of pressures, not just with state mandates, but also things like this that protect, you know, that there are cybersecurity things that are protection of our waters. I mean, protection of our St. Joseph Sound when it comes to wastewater. You know, it's not as simple as you turn on the water faucet and you flush the toilet. It's way more complicated in terms of safety, environmental issues, et cetera. So it's really important to have professionals handling all that, and we have some great ones. So I was just going to bring up, I had the Mayor's Council, Pinellas County, yesterday, and it was very well attended by a lot of the mayors in Pinellas. Dave Eggers was there as the chair of the county commission, which was great. We've invited him to start coming, and he was great. I mean, he was actually, in terms of talking about Amendment 3 and them, you know, kind of in the early stages of trying to work through all the impacts to them, none the least of which is EMS, none the least of which is the sheriff, who's 50% of their general fund budget, and on and on and on. So, and of course, you know, some of that stuff backs right up to one of their other big areas, which is public works. So, so some of that stuff will roll down to us, but some of it, they've got second year, $200 million that they got to figure out. So, so that was good. And then the main speaker was the interim head of Juvenile Welfare Board. And I don't know that a lot of people really understand what Juvenile Welfare Board does. It's a relatively small piece of people's tax bill. And I don't know the millage offhand, but it's relatively small. And so, but they get about, at least by the property appraisers, they were given a number a little bit higher, but I think around 110 million. And they're going to lose by the second year $29 million. Now, what Juvenile Welfare Board does is contracts. They do contracts with agencies and nonprofits that help with children. And some of their biggest areas are mental health with children, but their biggest one is getting kids ready for school. I saw the back of their folder. It basically says 80% of brain growth happens in babies in the first 1,000 days. So again, a lot of what they're doing is getting kids ready for pre-K. Now, the other visitor that was there who's on the board of Juvenile Welfare Board was Kevin Hendricks, who's our school superintendent. And he reiterated how well Pinellas County does compared to others, but how critical some of those things are to the preparedness from our children, and even when they're in some of these support agencies. So I think the message is that if we think it's not going to affect our schools, Amendment 3, it is. It is. Now, again, every citizen gets to decide this, but just to fully educate, $29 million out of kids' services is a big deal, and it will impact the schools. A couple other ways that I didn't even realize. Of course, Superintendent Hendricks brought up the fact that, you know, with the sheriff's office, he's already, you know, getting kind of word that, yep, probably the cost of the sheriff's office will go up. So then should they turn around and use their security force because they have, you know, less costly security services? But not necessarily, you know, again, with all the things that we talk about with school security, you know, with SROs and our fully sworn deputies, you kind of want some of that. So those are some of the things they'll have to talk about as well. And then the other thing I didn't realize was that the county actually funds the school nursing program, so school nurses in schools. And so there's just there's a lot of areas where I think that there is to educate so people really understand the full impact. And that I wanted to bring that up. It was a great meeting. We had a chance to ask a lot of questions. We also had our representative from Florida League of Cities was there giving us an update on the ballot language and how, because the ballot language is being rewritten. Can you speak to that, Jennifer? Because you did us a memo. So what's the status of that right now, the ballot language for Amendment 3?
So I believe it was on Monday night, the court, there had already been a briefing done, and the court went ahead and issued its ruling. And basically, it enjoined the supervisor of election from having it on the ballot. So the ballot language that we've seen so far, as far as the title and summary, won't be on the ballot. What it did do is it gave the Attorney General 10 days to provide alternate ballot language. And so that we're in that period right now because that just happened on Monday.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll kind of see. I know that's out there a lot on the news. I did want to say, too, that I know Juvenile Welfare Board is going to be at one of our future meetings, right?
I think so. I do.
Yeah, they're celebrating their 80th year. So we'll get another chance. And I think that'll be good for the community to kind of see and get an idea of what they do. Most of their staff, really, they're just contract administrators, making sure that the contracts they do are contracts that actually work. Otherwise, they don't keep that a contract. They get new contracts. So it's very measurement-oriented. So anyway, that was my only comments on that. So we'll go to City Clerk update.
Thank you, Mayor. We won't be meeting before the first week of Citizens Academy, but the clerk's office is geared up and ready for that first week on September 1st. So thank you.
Great. Good. City Manager update. Okay. City Attorney update. I guess I just gave you what the update is, right? Okay, I think this meeting is adjourned.